Round one. Fight!
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Pure Winter Fights. So I am your host, Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and I got a pretty cool panel here with me tonight. Some of us might still be recovering a little bit from the Schmodown pay-per-view event. It was pretty intense, probably one of the most intense I've ever seen, really. But I'm just gonna go around the horn and just introduce everybody, and then we'll jump into it. But I got my co-host here. Chris Scott, so he's the bigger boat, a.k.a. Chris Scott. How you doing?
What's up, guys? I'm excited to duke it out about the greatest directed Steven Spielberg movies, since I made a basic mistake calling out Poltergeist.
Oh, right.
That's all right. Okay.
There you go.
That would be my...
Your little Bruce. But then we have
Yes.
Austin Pez Howell. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. Great to be on here for the first time. It was one of my suggestions to do Spielberg, and I'm so honored to be on with all these Schmodown guys. I've been a Schmodown fan for a long time. This is really cool. And I watched 19 Spielberg movies over the last month to prep for this, either first-time watches or rewatches. So I've done my homework. I'm the homework research guy, as you know from my the SNL show we do together. So I do my homework, and I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Right on, awesome. And then we have JTE. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. That little intro you had reminded me of my movie fight days when we had we had a little Rocky IV in there, a little bit of Thor, I believe, was in there. That one was a little bit longer. That was the Zack Snyder cut, apparently.
Yep.
That was like a good minute, but still good stuff. Yeah. Spielberg is, he's one of the GOATs. He's one of the all-time greatest directors ever. Maybe one of the most influential directors ever. So it's going to be hard. But there are movies of his that I'm not a huge fan of. There's the only film on this list I haven't seen of the ones we're using is Sugarland Express. Never got around to it.
Oh, man.
So that's the only one I haven't seen. But every other film on here I have seen.
All right. Then we got Paul the Post Preston. What's going on?
JT Ophelia. I also have not seen Sugarland Express nor 1941 simply because I heard it was horrible. So I just never got to it.
Yeah.
Time passed.
Yeah.
I hear you. 1941 at least you got Belushi, you got Aykroyd, and it was it's a weird parody movie. Like it's weird, but there's some actually clever things in there where he's making fun of himself.
I should see that at some point. But
yes,
this is top 5.
Not great.
Directors for me of all time, no question. And we just got off of Zack Snyder's Damon versus DeMolanta, and it went long, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and here we are, ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, awesome. And then we got Chance the Cobra Ellison. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Not enough F-bombs for that to be the Snyder cut of the Star Wars movies, but still great. Still happy to be here. Spielberg, top 3 all time for me. I love the dude. Even when he's bad, he's always not gonna say he's always interesting, but I'll watch him even when he sucks. And for the love of God, Paul, JT, watch Sugarland Express. That movie's like
I know. I mean, At the movie guys, we have
seen
something
it.
called Movie Jail, and I don't think the Sugarland Express is Movie Jail, but Movie Jail is you're in jail if you haven't seen blank and Shawshank. If you haven't seen it, jail for you. You know, I don't think Sugarland Express is quite Movie Jail if you haven't
It's not
seen it.
Movie Jail, but like check it out. That's like the one you haven't seen. Watch it.
Yeah,
Just watched it.
Listen,
Movie
first of all,
backseat of a cop car.
Chance, you're very aggressive for a guy in a vest, and it's throwing me off. Most people I know with vests are like super chill and mellow.
This is also my gym vest. It's one of the ones with the
it
hoodie.
is? Oh, so you work out? Oh, it has a hoodie? Well, now it's badass. It went
So
from
he can
the best to badass. So you're good.
Yep.
I wish I wore a Spielberg shirt, but hopefully Spielberg's a Patriots
I
fan.
don't have one. Yeah. We'll kind of break down how it's going to work here. I got some little rules here I'm going to throw up here. So the rules are let's have a good, clean fight. Please do not talk or shout over each other. Please do be respectful of others' opinions. Each person will take turns to select a movie for ranking. The person who selected the movie will have 2 minutes to explain which tier they think it should go in and why. All their participants will kind of go around the horn, and each person gets a minute to have a little rebuttal and something to say about it, and then the host will decide on a ranking. The host being me that averages out everybody's opinions and asks if the proposed ranking is acceptable. And at that point, we can have a little open debate for just real quick at that point. So
you're at the end of the day, Jordan, you're the one making the decision.
Right at the end of the day, I'm.
I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
Can I get your Venmo or Cash App link?
Also, I was not aware.
I will bribe.
I wouldn't have done this show.
Right.
Because if your opinion sucks, I will tell you about it.
Right. Do it.
He's like Andy Signore back in the day, JT.
Yeah, and being a judge is not easy. Being a judge is not easy because it comes down to you, man.
Yep, exactly. So I'm gonna bring up the tier ranker chart here. So
do we get to see the chart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you'll get to see it
great.
As we go through this thing. So for anyone who hasn't done this before, we just rank it on a scale of S stands for superior. So that's like God tier pretty much. And then you have it just A, B, C, D, all the way through F. And then haven't seen, there may be one maybe that no one's seen it. Who knows? But we got all 31 of Steven Spielberg's movies on here. So we're just going to take turns picking them out, and then we'll fight for where they're going to go. So it should be a lot of fun. So, and usually as the host, I usually go last. I usually take that upon myself since I'm the host. So I'm just going to go how it appears on my screen. I don't know if it looks the same to everybody here, but I'm going to start with JTE first. So we're going to let you choose first. So I'm just going to kind of bring it down to where all the movies are, and you can pick which one you want to fight for.
So, I mean, some of these, I think, especially towards the top, there's not going to be a lot of arguing. I think, some of these are just... So let's just get out of the way, and this is not something we need to talk too much about. Schindler's List belongs in the superior. I think it's arguably top 3 of his best films of all time. It breaks the barrier of what a Spielberg film could be. Everyone thought of Spielberg as somebody who made these huge entertainments, these spectacles. This is his most grounded film. I just rewatched this last year, and it's just the cinematography, black and white. Every choice in this movie is fantastic. Up into the red shirt might be one of the greatest, just composed shots and ideas in a film this dramatic, ever. That every time I watch that scene, you see that red shirt with the little girl, and then you see it again in the bodies. It's the only thing in color. It's just not a happy movie. Not a movie you're going to want to watch as much as Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it belongs in that superior.
Yeah, Paul, what do you think about Schindler's List?
Have you seen Schindler's List? It's a jacket. Anyway, red jacket. There's no arguing there. This is superior. Now, if there's going to be so many damn superior movies, I'm glad we don't have to at least rank one atop the other within the category.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Boring. But there's no doubt Schindler's List. And what I love most about Schindler's List is they snubbed Spielberg for Color Purple and other films that he made in terms of giving him an Oscar. So eventually they said, look, we're going to give you the Thalberg, I think. Not the Thalberg. Is that the one? Some kind of life achievement award for all of his work. And so they gave that to him. And then within the next 5 years, he won producing, directing Schindler's List, and then won again for directing Saving Private Ryan. Almost like you guys gave me like the thanks for playing award, and he turned around and he was like, no, I earned these, and I should have before now, and I'm doing it again. Not back to back, but
and
2 times in the same decade for Schindler's List and Private Ryan.
Schindler's List is the only Best Picture winner for Spielberg, correct?
Yeah, it's the only one.
The only one.
Yeah, sadly.
So I do want to say too that we're only going to allow 10 in the S tier. That's how we always do it. And within S tier, we actually are going to rank one atop the other, which one actually belongs at the top.
At the end of the show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving them as we go.
Yeah, we can do it at the end of the show. We can do it as we go, however we want to do it. It really doesn't matter. But we'll move over to Chance. What do you think about Schindler's List?
Really quick, I want to just touch on Paul. Like, Color Purple is the one you go to? No, never mind. It's not important. We'll get to it later.
Well, he didn't even get nominated. That's the point.
Fair. Fair. Okay, fair. I have things to say about that later, but fair. This is undeniably an S tier. I mean, just the fact that this is maybe Spielberg's most personal film he's ever made. Being as a person of Jewish, being someone who is Jewish, Liam Neeson's incredible in this film. Ralph Fiennes incredible in this film. It's again, like he said, it's not an easy movie to watch, but it's an incredibly rewarding experience to sit down and do. So, yeah, again, not when you're gonna watch it often, but every time you do, you're gonna feel it. So, yeah, this is an S undoubtedly.
Yep, absolutely. So, Austin, what do you got for Schindler's List?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be 5 or 6 definitive S-level movies here that we're not going to have a lot of arguments about. I think when we get into the middle of the list, it's going to get a little shaky. But yeah, Schindler's List. If JT didn't nominate it, one of us is going to nominate it easily. When I look at S-level movies, it comes to cultural impact as well. It's had a cultural impact for 25, almost 30 years now. And, how many people go back to it, study the film, look at the performances, look at the writing, look at the cinematography. It's the movie that made Spielberg, especially the critics at the time, if you go back and look at it, go, wow, okay, this guy can do a hardcore, serious movie, because he had made blockbusters, sci-fi, even comedy, like with 1941, and it made everybody perk up and go, okay, we got to take this dude for real now. Like, he already was, but in the light of, everybody else. And it's an amazing film. What else do you say about Schindler's List? It's incredible.
There's not much else to say.
Right. Well, Chris, you got anything else to say?
I am trying to follow up with everything you guys said. I mean, so it's funny going into this. I was talking to my wife about, hey, I'm going to do this. We're doing a Spielberg battle. My wife was like, you better mention Schindler's List, and that sure as hell better get there. I'm like, I don't see why it wouldn't, honey, but I agree, man. It's just one of those movies that just gets you every single time. I love the care and the dedication that Spielberg puts in this, because it's a tough subject, but he does such a good job of tackling it, because it's very serious for us to never, ever forget what happened during the Holocaust. Yeah. And it's just an unbelievable movie. The music's incredible. The cast is just phenomenal. Yes, it's a superior movie. Yeah,
but I'll just say that little side note, I actually just watched Schindler's List last week for the first time. I'm playing a little bit of catch up for my Steven Spielberg movie. So it was pretty powerful to watch it for the first time. And it's a movie that's pretty hard to watch. I don't really find myself really like crying tears or anything, but it's just really hard just watching it. I can't believe these people went through all this, and just crazy. So, but yeah, definitely S tier.
Sorry, I know we just kind of got away from me, but one of the interesting things is they actually did use real Holocaust survivors in this movie.
Towards the end of the movie?
Towards the end,
yeah. The Oscar Schindler survivor,
Yeah, for sure. But all right, that's pretty unanimous. So we'll move it over to.
Some of these are going to be very much thumbs up.
Yep, right.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Paul, it's your pick. So
my turn.
What do you want to fight for? Yeah.
All right, let's get interesting and early. I'm going to put up in the S column my namesake, The Post.
Ooh, okay.
Now, a lot of people didn't talk about this movie. And that's a shame, because there's no. I mean, it was one of the most. What's that?
I'm sorry. Where do you want it to be?
In S.
Oh, S. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because I'm looking at my personal top 10 that I made. I'm like, it's up there. So, hey, let me make the argument. I mean, first of all, it's about elimination and demonizing of the press. And that clearly is something that has been important again in the last 6-7 years, the Trump administration and before. It still has its the demonizing of the press still has its effects after he's out of office. But Ben Bradley and Kay, what's her name? I forget that Meryl Streep played, running the Post at the time and fighting for the truth about the Vietnam, what they call them, the Pentagon Papers.
Yeah.
I believe that they were stolen from McNamara's office and then made public. This stuff needs to be known, and these two just fighting. And of course, then Kay, Streep's character fighting sexism as well. It's a super relevant. I'm a raging liberal too, so all the liberal claptrap that just fills all the dialogue of that movie is right up my alley. I'm like, you guys are so right. I'm just sitting there screaming. And of course, Spielberg just delivers a really deft touch here. He doesn't overdo it. It doesn't get melodramatic. It isn't as pared down as something like Saving Private Ryan's early moments, but it's so he doesn't help it up as sometimes he's helped up some of his other dramas to the detriment of the film. And of course, if Meryl Streep's in a movie and you're walking the earth, you need to go and see it. It'd be like being in 1592 and someone says, do you want to see Hamlet? And you're like, nah, go see everything she does. And Tom Hanks continues to show he can play anything. His Ben Bradley is like a giant bull, just pushing his will through every meeting and every person he talks to. And if that's not enough, go for the hair. 70s hair in full effect. So, this is a great film. It made my top, very towards the top of the year. It came out, and not a lot of people saw it. I think people kind of went, these three are great. What do I need to see it for? Well, that's why, So I put that under S, and welcome your comments.
All right. Well, Chance, what do you think of The Post? You think it belongs in S?
The Post is a very good movie. You get time, the subject matter, great performances, well shot. Given the fact that did that in a time crunch is impressive. S is pricey though. There are so many people that belong in S. I don't think that's one of them. I think this belongs in the B tier. It's good, but it doesn't belong in the all-time greats.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, basically, I won't say anything now, but when I hear something going to S that's not as good as The Post, you're going to hear from my ass. So go ahead.
All right. All right, what do you got, Austin? What do you think of
There's a reason people don't talk about The Post a lot. It's because it's fine. It's a movie that Spielberg can make in his sleep. I think it's good. It's well made. It's well acted. You got Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, but it's a movie full of Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep reading documents and newspaper articles for 2 hours. And if that's what makes an S-level movie for you, that's fine. To me, that doesn't make an S-level movie. I think this is one that all three of them could do sleepwalking. And it's solid. I'd put it like B or C level, but nobody talks about this movie. I'm sorry. You forget that Steven Spielberg makes The Post. And there's a reason, to me, S-level is stuff people still talk about, people go and reference. It has a cultural impact, and The Post doesn't have that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
I see. I thought we were going on the quality of the movie. Not bad.
We are, but there's multiple levels to the quality of a movie.
Yeah, and I think these three sleepwalking through a movie is hands down better than most.
I mean, there's certain
if that's your phrase.
There's certain directors who can. There's certain directors who actually can sleepwalk through a movie and have it be bad, but this isn't one of them. But S, man, come on, S.
I didn't say. Notice I didn't say it was a bad movie. I didn't say it was bad. I just said it's more BC level if we're comparing it to other Spielberg movies. It's not in the same league as Schindler's List or some of the other ones we're going to put in S level. I just don't think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah. But what do you think,
my
Chris,
opinion.
about The Post?
I think it's a decent movie. I mean, we got a good cast. We got good story. So this gets into a lot more political and what the right of the newspaper is to do, releasing the Pentagon Papers and all that bullshit. But just as a movie in general, yes, it is very boring. Okay, it's not that exciting. It's, I mean, we've had true movies. Okay, The Informant comes to mind, and obviously that is not a Spielberg movie. Okay, but it's a great example of a solid real this is what happened movie. It's a good movie, and I love Tom Hanks. I love the cast members. Seriously, Tom Hanks is an incredible actor, and Meryl Streep is flipping incredible. I agree. For that reason, it would have to be in B. Or maybe even C.
Down there with all the President's Men and all those other stinkers.
Oh, all the prisoners.
Yeah.
They just read newspapers.
That one's S tier.
That
But-
was more talking than the Post.
For me, though, I have a little bit of a. We wouldn't really call it a hot take, but I haven't seen the Post. I'll just say, so I can't really speak on it. So
Great,
I'm gonna let you
JTE.
guys do it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
JTE.
Here's the thing, like I really like the Post, and I think it's probably one of the better Spielberg films he's made in the past decade. Lincoln being the other one I think is really good. I would argue it belongs in the A to B category, but like I thought I was gonna have to fight to get it into A because I thought a lot of you guys would say B, but I can't put it in S. I can't put it at that level, even though I really like the movie, and I think there's some times where even Spielberg gets his own way. There's a scene where like all these guys, lawyers, are arguing, and the camera is following them, and they're like it felt almost comical. Like it felt a little bit like, all right, Spielberg's playing almost too much like a play, but Streep's fantastic, Hanks is fantastic, Bob Odenkirk, great supporting role. I love the movie.
Tracy Letts.
Yeah, Tracy Letts. So I would put it in the A category. I can't get it to S, but definitely A, which is I thought I was gonna have to fight to get it to A. But Paul went and threw it up in the S, so let's just take it down a notch and throw in that A category.
I'll accept your group A.
Yeah,
But I will be monitoring very closely your top 10 S.
But that's just my
movies.
opinion. Jordan's the master. He
Oh, is that
decides-
right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Well,
But it's a
But this one-
consensus, though.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
It's a
it sounds
consensus
like-
of everybody.
Oh, okay,
Sounds like
good.
you guys were B.
Yeah, so it's a consensus. And I haven't seen it, so I'm just letting you guys decide totally on this one.
So, Chance, would you say A or B?
I'd say B.
And Austin,
B, for sure.
Chris,
B.
and then Paul says S. I say A. You
Usually I
figure
give a little more sway to the person
Figure
who
that
actually chose it for their actual pick. I'll give them a little sway. Since you said S, I kind of feel like maybe we're going to throw it into A. I feel like. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking because it was Paul's pick. He said S, but then a lot of you said B, so I think A is kind of like a good
Middle ground.
I look forward to
good middle
guys
ground.
It's one of the
Keep it
best
A
films he
right
made
next
in the
to,
past 10 years.
BFG. Anyway, good.
I mean, no, but we'll get to that later.
No, well, yeah,
Right,
we'll
right.
talk about that.
So now we
All
got
right.
Chance. It's your turn to pick.
All right.
You got.
Ooh, so many. I don't know. Do I want to go with pick I love or do I want to be the villain on the show? I'll go.
We can
I'll
pick
go
one
for
that's
that.
bad if you.
I'm really thinking about
Go
it. But I'm thinking it'll be around my next pick, so I'll come back around to it later. And I'm gonna pick something that if I didn't get to pick, I would burn the show to the ground. I'm gonna Jaws. That's an S tier. Like, need I say more? The granddaddy of all summer blockbusters. Like, without this,
Yeah.
you realize how many summer blockbusters we wouldn't have. Like, we wouldn't have the term.
Yeah.
Like, just this movie is perfect on every single level. Great performances, great tension, great writing. So much worked by the fact that so much behind the scenes did not work. So I think this is a testament to what Spielberg could do as a filmmaker, even at such like an early stage in his career. So yeah, this is undoubtedly an S movie.
Before we go any farther, does anybody disagree?
No.
No.
Then
Yeah.
boom.
So yeah, so
Let's move on.
Yes,
We can
Still
move on.
gotta
Move on.
yeah, so let's make it easy. Yeah, let's just leave it
I
there
think it's
then.
on the Chandler's list.
Can we fawn?
But I do want to
now?
say though that like I'm on my Steven Spielberg catch up that I've been doing. I just watched Jaws for the first time yesterday. So
Oh, nice.
that's
What,
like-
Jordan,
yeah,
have you
so-
been in what's
Yeah.
happening here? Have you been in like a bomb shelter? How do you miss Jaws?
No, there's only
I'll give
there's
you a
only
pass
four-
on Schindler's List. 'Cause It's not an
there's
easy
only
movie
four
to sit
Steven
down.
Spielberg movies that I hadn't seen. I'm preparing for this, and Jaws and Schindler's List happen to be two of them. So
Like,
yeah,
his two best. So that's
right,
crazy.
right.
It's a fun fact that Jordan played Brendan Fraser's role in Blast from the Past. He was
Yeah,
in the
I was
shelter for 20
literally-
years.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I was. That's
Right,
literally
no,
what I
Did you
was
sell your
referring
baseball
to.
cards?
Yeah, right. Saved them all. But all right, Austin.
Wait, can I give
It's
you a
your
minute
turn.
on why the Jaws
Yeah,
is a great
please
choice?
go.
Oh,
First
yeah,
of all,
yeah.
I call it the greatest horror movie of all time, and I know it's a different genre than that, but it kept people from swimming for 45 years. That is an insane power for a movie to have, more than probably any other movie except maybe Star Wars and the fandom it created. But just the power of keeping you out of the water is utterly insane. It is the birth of the blockbuster. It is obviously the coming of Steven Spielberg. And J.J. Abrams in a TED Talk years ago made a great point about Jaws. He showed the scene where Brody's had an awful day at the beach. People are dying. His job is under stress. The mayor's going nuts. And he's kind of sitting at the dinner table like this, if you remember. And his son comes up to him and does this too. And they play a little mirror game. And you realize that his son is there to just really calm him down. And the relationship they have is fantastic. And JJ said, that's the scene people need to steal. If you're going to make it, unfortunately, they said, what's the monster of the week after Jaws? Well, we made The Swarm, and we made Alligator, and we made all these movies about other terrorizing animals. But JJ said, no, this is the scene you need to copy if you're going to emulate Jaws. And that remains true today for other movies that copy off one another. They're copying often the wrong scenes. Jaws is a masterpiece.
Right, yep. I would agree, especially the second half for me. Like that's what really amps up. So after just barely watching it, that's what really stood out to me. But like all the tension and the build up too, though, that's important. So it makes it that much better. So.
Yeah, the second they leave on the boat to go hunt him, it becomes more of an adventure film, which I love.
And then
I say one thing else about Jaws as well.
Good.
Yeah.
So I love this movie so much. Obviously, my name is Bigger Boat and everything else, but it's like one of the things that blew my mind is, as you said, like this is really what started like big blockbuster movies, because up till that point, all you saw during the summer were just B movies. This is the first movie that really started it off. Before that, people were literally just going to theaters because there was AC. And as you said, they were so beyond, like above and beyond, like over what their budget should have been, but it made that money back in tenfold. And for years, it was the top grossing movie ever made, which blows my mind. Well, even with all that.
I think, for years, meaning 2, until Star Wars came out 2 years later.
2 years, yes. Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Until Steven Spielberg took it back with E.T. a few years later.
Right. Yep. There you go. But Austin, you're up. So.
Well, I will make this another easy one and nominate S level for Jurassic Park. Let's throw it up there. There's not going to be a whole lot of argument, I don't think. And, what do you say about Jurassic Park that hasn't been said over the last almost 30 years? The fact that the effects still hold up to this day and are better than half the movies that come out. The CGI still works. It has some of the most amazing creature effects. The animatronic alone of when the T-Rex head is coming slowly towards Sam Neill's face and blows his hat off is incredible to this day to see. The cinematography, beautiful. The locations, beautiful. The direction, amazing. It's a creature feature to end all creature features. And, we thought maybe it couldn't be topped over Jaws. And it's at least on the same level as Jaws when it comes to these threats. It's just amazing all around. And I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot of argument about this, but Jurassic Park, S level Spielberg.
Yeah. So I think we're all probably in consensus. Everyone would agree that it's S tier, right? Because
I would say A.
Really?
Oh, you say A? What?
I'm joking. Of course, it's S.
Okay.
It's
it's the setup punch, like the strongest man in the world. It's setup, setup. And then when the punch comes, dinosaurs, it's just like boom! Your head explodes. I saw this 6 times in the theater when it first came out, and the setup throughout also works because it's interesting characters, it's interesting dialogue, and it's all sorts of great stuff. So it's a huge, massive monster win, Jurassic Park.
I'll say this. So originally they want Harrison Ford for Sam Neill's part, and I'm telling you right now, I love Sam Neill, but I could easily see Harrison Ford playing Sam Neill's part in this movie, and
hating on the kids and everything.
It would be just as good, I think.
That would have been awesome.
He'd be great for a grumpy son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I love Sam Neill. I think he's great in this, but ever since I heard that little piece of trivia, I was like, damn, I couldn't see Harrison Ford doing that.
They also wanted Sean Connery for John Hammond, but he turned it down.
Really? Oh, I'm glad that I like bro there.
In favor of Dragonhearts also.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, JP, it's on the list.
Yeah, but I gotta say too that Paul, you have me beat. I thought that I had seen it a lot of times in theater. I saw it 4 times in theaters, but for me, it's just one of my probably my favorite movie going experience that I've ever had. I remember I was probably like, gosh, maybe about like 9 or 10 years old when it came out. And I remember my parents went to go see it. We're living in this small town in Utah. That's where I was born. And my dad came home and he's like, you got to see this movie. I just saw the most amazing movie. I don't care that you're only 9 years old. Like, you're old enough to see this. You got to go see it. And so I went to go see it. And we just had this small, tiny little movie theater in a small little town with only one screen in it. And I went and saw it. And the next day for 4 consecutive days, I went back every day. And I saw it again. And I saw it again. And like, for me, Jurassic Park is hands down my favorite Steven Spielberg movie of all time. So, I mean, yeah, it's without a doubt an S tier for me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw it 6 times in the theater in its original run. Many other times since. So, yeah.
All right.
I just got the 3D Blu-ray, and I'm curious to see how that turns out.
Ooh, yeah. So, Chris, you're up.
Gosh, there's so many good movies on this list. Okay, I'm actually going to pick one that is the shittiest movie on this list. I'm going to go that route instead of everyone's like favorite movie.
Right.
Okay. I love Steven Spielberg. Yeah. Okay. I was really excited to see this movie. It has I feel like I'm going to fail because all of you guys are Schmoedown great. So, of course, you know him. It's a kid from The Sixth Sense.
Haley Joel
Osment. Yeah.
Yes. And it was just, and the trailers look really solid. I mean, this kid was supposed to be able to, basically be able to create this perfect child, make up for all the issues and everything he had in his family. And I just hated it. It was just overly artsy. I kept hoping it would get better. It did not. It was a pile of shit. And I literally wanted my money back. But of course, there's nothing I could do. It was akin to seeing The Village in theaters with M. Night Shyamalan. I hate that pile of shit.
That's the Shyamalan movie you take.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
And that was going in F for me. Absolutely. F.
Put in F.
Absolutely.
All right. So JT,
if there was a lower thing, I'd put it there too.
I would put this. Yeah, I'd put this in the C category. For me, Spielberg did this as, Kubrick wrote this script. This was supposed to be a Kubrick movie, and unfortunately, nobody could do Kubrick but Kubrick, even if it's his best friend, Steven Spielberg. Spielberg took the script, tried to make it in the, through the eyes of Kubrick in a lot of ways, but at the same time, he made it his own. So it feels like two different visions kind of battling out for the same movie. But there's a lot of great, nods to 2001: A Space Odyssey. His little bear is literally the voice of Howell from 2001: A Space Odyssey. So for me, I see it as a weird kind of almost like an experiment of like one of the best filmmakers making a film to kind of as a love letter to his good friend and one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So for me, yes, there's things that do not hit, but there's things in it that I really appreciate on a technical level. I think Jude Law gives a really interesting performance. Just a scene where he goes to talk to Robin Williams and he's like Mr. Know-It-All or ask me a question. And the way it has this weird Pinocchio kind of subtext to it, there's a lot of interesting things in there to like you could pull out of it, but does it come together to make a really good movie? No, it doesn't. But it's an interesting movie, and I would put it in the C category. It's not B. I wouldn't give it D. I would give it a solid C.
All right, yeah, and this is one that I skipped just because all the reviews were just so bad. I mean, people that saw it said it wasn't good. So I've never seen it, so I'm going to let you guys hash it out. But
it's not. I don't think it's that bad.
But let's start over to Paul. What do you think of AI?
I'd back that C ranking. There's a lot of good stuff on display, but yeah, like Pinocchio theming, or what'd you call it? Imagery.
There's a subtext.
Subtext. There's a giant blue fairy at one point.
Yeah.
That's
not really subtext.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a little more than subtext. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Post was down. AI is like, let's do everything, and it didn't all work. So yeah, but there's enough on display from a guy, clearly at the height of his craft back then. He's in between. He's in between. What was at the end of the 90s? But he's right before Catch Me If You Can, right? And so, but C, we'll go C.
What do you think, Chance?
I bet JT, do you also really love the racial subtext in Get Out? I gotta know, but
the subtext in Get Out.
The racial
white
subtext in
people.
Get Out.
Let's trust white people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trust white.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think F's a little harsh for this. So I get it. I mean, this movie that had like a really just like bad production. This was supposed to be a Kubrick film. He died while trying to finish Eyes Wide Shut. So he didn't get around to doing this.
Yeah, he just wrote it.
Yeah, he just wrote it. So it's good off his scripts. And you do feel the respect that because throughout their entire careers, you knew that like these two need to respect each other because they played to such different audiences that they kind of like admired one another in that kind of way. And yeah, I would agree with Paul and JT that I think F's too hard. We need to save that for like the especially bad movies.
Right.
But yeah, F. I think C's fair. It's got some interesting ideas, some cool shots, and I do think it's interesting to see him try this kind of like Kubrick-esque style.
Right. Yeah. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, this is one of the ones I revisited in the last week or so because I hadn't seen it since I saw it in the theater when I was 15 years old, and I'm 35 now. So it's like I literally did not know what my opinion was going to be going back to it. And yeah, Spielberg is way more interested in the family stuff in the beginning with Haley Joel Osment like integrating into the family and like him and the mother relationship and all that. He's way more interested in that, and I think Kubrick was way more interested in the actual AI and like the fair that they have in the middle of the movie where they're tearing apart robots and stuff. And the world and the Jude Law character and all that stuff. So there's interesting ideas in there. There's a lot of cool things going on kind of in the background. And again, the performances are solid. I don't think it's like an F level movie. I think that's a little harsh because I wasn't bored at all or whatever. It was fine. I go like more D, maybe C level, something in there. And it's not horrible, but again, it's not his movie. Spielberg was. It's Kubrick's. It should have been Kubrick's movie, and for that reason, I don't think it really should have been made at all. But because Spielberg did it as a favor to Kubrick, kind of in death, I don't know if his heart was totally into it. So that's why it's not one of his best. But again, I don't think it's the worst.
Yep. So, Chris, I think you got outvoted. I think we got to put it at a C.
I did get outvoted, but I gotta say, like,
most people.
Apparently, I'm the only one that hates 2001: The Space Odyssey. I don't get it.
God.
I tried to watch it years ago and just like wanted to just run an iron over my face. To say
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
I get it. It doesn't make sense. It's confusing. It's overly thematic. You should just watch the post. It's a nice straight narrative.
Just watch the post.
Yeah.
So now it's my turn to pick. Yeah, right. But so I want to go with a little more of a controversial one that I think we might have a little bit of a debate on. So I want to go with Hook. So for me, I absolutely love Hook. I think Hook for me is a solid A for me.
Movie he's ever made.
Like, I grew up just loving this movie as a kid. But the older that I get, I mean, I don't really go back to it and revisit it as much. But like I remember just absolutely just loving it, and I do love the soundtrack and just the performances. You have Robin Williams, you have Dustin Hoffman, you have guy that plays Rufio. I always forget his name. Like he was solid. So like and then you have I'm blanking on her name that played Tinkerbell.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah, Julia Roberts.
You must not love it.
Yeah, that. Right.
Yeah.
So well, she's a big name. I wasn't like huge on the Tinkerbell role, but everything else about the movie though, I loved it. I wouldn't put it in an S tier for sure, but I would give it a solid A, I think. So, but yeah, we'll around. What do you think, JT? We'll start with you.
Go ahead and throw that in the F category for me. I think this movie is borderline. It's borderline unwatchable. I love Robin Williams. Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors ever. Comedian. I teared up when he died. I went back and we watched this movie a couple of years ago because I hadn't seen it in so long. I think I like the first 10 minutes before he even realizes, he gets sent away. I like Dustin Hoffman's performance at times, but just as a movie, even the effects at times look awful for Spielberg. When he's flying, it looks horrible. I think to me, I watched this movie and I was just kind of like, I turned it off halfway through because I just couldn't get through it. I thought it was pretty awful. I know people out there love this movie. You do, Jordan. I'm sorry to say this. I know there's a huge hardcore fan base for this movie out there. I am on the opposite end. As a kid, I used to love Garbage Pail Kids, the movie. But guess what? I grew up. I realized it's a piece of crap movie. And I think Hook is one of Spielberg's worst, honestly.
Can I go next?
Yeah, please. Rebuttal, please.
Yeah. I don't want to rebuttal. I want to jump on your bandwagon.
Thank you.
You're right. Because, look, Hook is trash, but for some reason nobody wants to admit it. It's too long. It's drab. Sure, there's cool sets, but like you need someone way more unlikable than I'm waiting for this role for this to work, because this is not what he does. Like you're not. This is the world plays not at all to his strengths. It's like the whole thing. Tinkerbell is fucking creepy. Like, and honestly, like I know people have nostalgia for it, but wake the hell up. This one was bad. I'm not gonna say F tier, but I think it could go on like D. Like it should not even sniff the A tier.
Well, Paul, what do you think?
Can I retort? Since we're skipping,
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you smoking? Like,
listen, it's no 2001 Space Odyssey. I understand.
No 2001 Space Odyssey is a pile of dog shit. Okay, that's like
everything you say from this point is off the. It's just throwing out after that statement.
Okay, that would be like putting Sandlot in like F or Z or whatever.
Do not.
It's up there with Sandlot.
Sandlot, you're insane. Sandlot is
Sandlot's awesome.
Yeah,
Sandlot's awesome.
It's seriously, it's definitely an A tier movie.
No,
absolutely.
No,
the music's
no.
phenomenal.
Yes.
The writing's solid. The acting is incredible. The sets are incredible. You feel like you were there as a kid, and if you didn't have that nostalgic joy, I feel bad for both of you guys' childhoods.
Well, here's the thing.
Because this is Peter Pan I want to watch. The suicidal Captain Hook and unlikable as
I have
Peter Pan.
The nostalgia. Like I liked this movie as a kid. Like I'm not saying I hated it
it's
as a
still
kid.
Good.
No, I rewatched it as an adult, and I was like, "Wow, yep, this is one of those movies I thought I liked," and I watched it with adult eyes who actually knows what good movies are, and it was crap.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I did the exact same thing. This movie.
And by the way, it's 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, so pretty bad. Pretty bad Rotten Tomatoes. Oh no, it's 29%, man. I'm sorry.
Spielberg.
Sorry, my turn.
Yeah,
my turn. All right.
Yeah.
So can I come like right in the middle and argue for like a C level or something like that? Because I don't think it deserves to be A level. You know, just under Schindler's List and Jaws. I think that's kind of silly. But I also don't think it's like F level absolute dog shit. You know, it's because I think there's enough good stuff in it. Like we said, the John Williams score is one of the best he's ever done for a Spielberg movie. If you go back and watch it, it's incredible. Yes, it is.
If you're starting at score,
I would agree.
You need to give me more than just the score.
Because the score adds to the performances, which are all very good. The set design is very good. The family dynamic stuff in the first act is Spielberg's favorite part of the movie, which is good.
Which
now,
I said
Spielberg
the first
himself,
10 minutes is my favorite.
Okay, it's not 10 minutes; it's more like 40 minutes, but sure. And anyway, even Spielberg. He's not a big fan of the movie just because personally it got overinflated and over budgeted and things like that, and his head wasn't in it, and that's fine. But I think it's perfectly entertaining, especially as a children's movie. And we're going to talk about another movie that's made for kids, E.T. I'm sure it'll come up at some point. And so I'm not saying it's on the level of that, but the fact that it still works to this day and people have that fondness for it, I think it's still okay. But to put it at F level, I think is kind of silly. I think there's way worse movies than that. That's
you know what? I feel like I would have completely agreed with everything you said if I hadn't revisited it in the last couple of years. Like if you came to me 4 years ago, I think I would.
I revisited it 4 days ago, and it still worked. It was fine.
I know. That's why I agree. Like some people love this movie. There's people who want it to be in the A category, like Jordan.
No, I'm not arguing for A. I'm not arguing for A.
And to me, like at least you're giving it a C. I'm with you. I could concede to that. The A is where it's like that's a whole nother.
Yes,
place.
No.
I can't wait to hear Paul's opinion. I got to hear what Paul says.
All right, Paul, it's all you.
Let's hear it.
GTE, Chance. I mean, you guys are on point.
Oh,
listen, you can say
what the hell?
You could say my childhood was awful, but I was in my 20s when this came out, and I already knew I was an adult, and I said, "This is awful. This is 90s excess." Spielberg giving over to it. He was on his way there with things like Last Crusade, and this just was over the top. You say it looks like you were there, yeah, on a set. It's dismal brown production design. I loved Hoffman and Hoskins.
Yeah,
that's it.
Too. Yeah,
D.
I'm with you.
Put it in D. Put it down to D.
What is he?
I'm okay with D.
I'm
okay with D.
D.
It's at least better than AI, though. I mean, come on. I think it's at least
put it down.
I said F. Okay.
I'm raising it up to D.
Let's put it in front of C.
Put it down to D.
I think two of us had F, one of us had D, and then you had
A. Better than AI, though. You could go on the same level as an AI, you know.
No, D. Put it down to D right now.
I mean, Austin and Christopher.
I argued for like middle of the road, so I mean,
middle of the road.
So, yeah.
Wait, so Scott, were you thinking A or B?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I wanted B.
Okay, so 2 Fs, a B, a C, and a D. So yeah, I think D's the word. Gotta go.
Yeah, I think D.
So the 2 Fs really bring it down.
It just seems to be the consensus. So, but so we're gonna throw it back to JTE.
My next one was gonna be Hook, and it was gonna be F. So
that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna put it in D.
So thank you for taking it off my plate. I'll make it. Listen, we'll do another easy one here. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superior, S.
Right.
Shouldn't be too much arguing.
No,
I'll give my time to Paul Preston.
Really? Oh my God! Well,
because you love this movie. Yeah. I know how much you love this movie.
This is my favorite movie of all time. This is, I mean, I would even argue that it's the greatest movie of all time because it established an action brand that, well, I mean, just as an action, it established action movies as a brand, not necessarily the Indiana Jones brand, that you can have serious stakes and have fun within them. A lot of movies lose that now. They just have so much fun. It gets silly or weird, and you saw the sequels fall victim to that. Suddenly in Last Crusade, Indiana Jones got to pretend he's Scottish. What did they... Unnecessary. And this one, the world is at stake, and he's got to go do something about it. So you know that scene. It's awful. Everything is firing on all cylinders here. You get one of the most iconic heroes of all time, played by one of the best underplaying actors that Hollywood had to offer. The score is outstanding. Even the special effects stand up to a point. We all get where there's green screen and that kind of stuff. But consider a 1981 movie that's set in 1936, so that helps it. Look at other movies from 1981. They look terrible. This movie stands the test of time. The John Williams score, I mean, probably only outdoes himself with E.T. and Jaws. E.T. and, well, maybe in Jaws, but certainly E.T. and Star Wars. But, everything hits. I can't say a single thing wrong about this, and I watch it every year. And I'm so glad I live in LA because I watch it in a theater every year. Even last year, when we had a pandemic, I got to the drive-in and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's I always see something new, and I talk to people about it. I go, did you see that when he goes up? I never noticed how when he steps up to the Ark for the first time and he kind of walks into the shadow and he puts his hands on the Ark. He has a moment. Spielberg takes a moment to realize how important and what a big deal it is to Indiana Jones. And then we can get on to a huge truck chase. But you have to have both things in balance to have a masterpiece, and that's certainly what Spielberg has crafted here. I think it's his best movie. I think it's my favorite, it's certainly my favorite movie, and it's going to be one of the greatest movies of all time forever.
Ditto.
Yep.
Yeah. No arguments here. Nothing else I can say. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'll say less in the future. Sorry, but this one is just
wrong consensus. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I just want to shout out real quick for Raiders, Vic Armstrong, the stuntman for Harrison Ford in that movie. I've read his book, The World's Greatest Stuntman, great one. And the truck sequence alone, some of the greatest stunt work ever in a movie. I mean, it holds up to this day, 40 years later. It's amazing. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to Vic. He's amazing. And S level, no arguments from me.
Only thing that'll make us better is Mike Kalinowski as Indiana Jones, but that's because he's my Indiana Jones.
And for Christ's sake, go to Tunisia and get dysentery. These movies that shoot on a stage, makes me nuts. These guys were right? The locations and the stunts were no bullshit.
No green screen.
They went to war for this movie. Yeah. Well, so Paul, after that argument, you're up. You get a pick.
It's me again, JT. I'll yield to you again because I feel like I just went on Raiders.
You want me to pick another one?
Or I can pick it and you can talk about it.
You pick. Yeah, you pick and I'll talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you sent up an easy one, so you didn't have to put up any real troublesome opinions. So I'll just pick the one that's probably a no-brainer as well. We'll go with E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Yep. Superior.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a movie that I revisited last year. I got the 4K Blu-ray, and this is a movie I think a lot of you probably in the same boat as me grew up watching this over and over as a kid. But there was a good point where I just didn't watch it for almost a decade. Like it got to the point where I felt like I could watch the movie in my head by just like closing my eyes. So revisiting it again last year after like almost a decade, it was even better than I remembered. The humor is there for adults. The ending made me tear up. The E.T. is funny, man. E.T. is really funny in that movie. There's a scene where he sees Yoda and he tries to start following him dressed up as a ghost. I was like, oh my God, that's a great little George Lucas joke there. So there's so many things about the movie that are fantastic. It belongs to Superior. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And he says, of course,
home.
When he sees Yoda. That's hilarious.
Home.
So does anybody disagree with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, but I'm just going to open it up if anyone has any comments on it.
I would actually.
Wow, where would you put it, eh?
I mean, I like ET a lot. I'm not as big on ET as most people. I put it in A. I know I'm going to get outvoted anyways, but personally, I put it in A. Because I feel like he has better... I feel like he has better blockbusters than... He has a lot better blockbusters than ET. And also better movies that we haven't put in A, S tier than ET, so...
E.T.'s a blockbuster because of how successful it was, and then when I'm watching it, it doesn't feel like this big spectacle. So to me, it's one of the most personal films for Spielberg. It's about divorce. He's talking about this a lot, and how he went through divorce and how this movie just kind of interplays with what happened to him in real life and his emotions. So to me, like when I watch it, I sense that personal touch that Spielberg has to it, and again, it's so entertaining. It's so funny and entertaining.
Like this would be S tier if they incorporated Botanicus and the Green Planet, but
I got you. That's the sequel, man.
The sequel on the ET ride, which is fucking insane, but that's
yes.
I put it in A tier, but I know me. I put it anyways. It doesn't matter.
I get it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I debated between S and A, and I rewatched my 4K a few days ago too, JT, and because I didn't really grow up with the movie necessarily. I've seen it several times over the years, and when I rewatched it the other day, I don't have that personal connection to it. But man, the filmmaking in that movie is top notch, and the relationships are top notch. You care about this puppet essentially, this creature, this creation, and even the bicycle chase scene gets me jazzed up. It got me jazzed up watching it the other day. It's a great action sequence, and it has and I'm really glad. Can I just say that the 4K Blu-ray? I was real worried for a second when I popped it in because there was no option to watch both the two versions, and I'm glad the default version is the original version now with the puppet and with the guns and everything. So
the walkie-talkies
with the guns.
Yes.
Oh man!
So I'm glad Spielberg came to his senses.
Hashtag release the guns cut. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, right.
And CGI ET did not look good. So thank God.
But I was between A and S, and I go with S though for sure after my rewatch. Definitely.
So I just want to.
Oh, you can go ahead, Chris.
Can I just say, as someone that so I love this movie so much. For me, I think it's one of the reasons that I love Reese's Pieces so much. One of my favorite candies, just for that iconic scene right there. I love them. Also, I remember going to Universal, and I remember riding that ride that you mentioned. It was
still there.
just incredible.
They got it in Florida.
Oh, really?
That's
in Florida.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still fun.
I literally went on it last year, pre-COVID.
That's so awesome.
Do they still have it in California, or is it only Florida?
It's only Florida.
It's
only Florida. But it's good.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, but that's one of my fondest memories of going to Universal in Florida as a kid. Yeah, I was riding that ride.
Yeah, for sure.
And shout out to the final shot in E.T., which of course is not a special effect. It's not, some amazing other world. It's Elliot, and the camera moves in on him. The music swells, the wind hits his hair, and you just see this kid has changed forever. And that's really the point of E.T., not to impress us or to that it's, you said, it's about divorce, and this kid is now closer to adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but right after that, you just cut to the end credit scene too. Which, if you listen to the music just from the end credits alone, it's like one of the greatest pieces of music I've almost ever heard in my life. It's just incredible. So
there's gonna be a lot of John Williams love throughout this show.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
It's his guy.
So now we're gonna throw it over to Chance. You're up.
Okay, so look, much I love this dude. Let's be real. He hasn't been hitting as hard in the last 20 years as he was in his early days.
Yeah,
now there's one case in which this is an exception to this rule, and that is Minority Report, which I do think belongs in the S tier. I think this is definitely his best movie of the 21st century. I think that he takes the subject matter by Philip K. Dick, who's one of my favorite authors of all time. I think he's an incredible science fiction writer, and just the idea of punishment before crime.
Mm-hmm.
I think he puts together an amazing world. I think the look is fantastic. I think it's much more mature blockbuster than what we're used to from Spielberg. I think Tom Cruise is great in it. I think the plot unfolds in such a really interesting way. It always keeps you on the edge of your seats. And I think that this being his best movie of the 21st century, this has to be an S tier.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Austin?
So I would argue more for an A tier. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's definitely one of his best 3 of the last 20 years.
Better than A2.
Do I think it's on the same level as Jaws and Jurassic Park and things like that? Not really. Again, it's hard to argue against it, but I think my main argument comes from the fact that I think the second half of the movie doesn't work as good as the first half of the movie when he's actually running the pre-crime stuff and the intrigue of the world that they set up. Then when it just becomes him as a fugitive and getting eye surgeries and all that kind of stuff, it just, to me, it doesn't work as well as the first half does. So I think it kind of peters out over the course of the 2 hours and 20 minutes or so. So I just don't think it sustains that kind of level of energy throughout the whole movie. For me, I think it's still very interesting throughout, but I'd argue more for an A level.
All right, what do you think, Chris?
I disagree. So like you, I love Philip K. Dick. He's an amazing writer. Minority Report is a solid movie. They do a really good job of exploring, these deep concepts of the idea of what if we could find out somebody is guilty before and then track them down and arrest them and potentially stop future crimes. It's awesome. And the cast is solid. The writing is solid. I don't feel like it really peters out. I think it does a good job of transitioning to where we see him kind of fighting back, so to speak. So for that reason, yes, I agree. It's a different movie, but it still belongs in the S tier, right up there with the big boys.
All right, yeah. For me, I'd probably say that it's probably about an A tier for me, just because I'm not a huge fan of the ending of this movie, but up until the very end, I love everything about it. And when I first saw it too, I had to kind of rewatch the ending because I was a little confused by it. But then on a second watch, I kind of got what was going on there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool concept, and it's something that always had me wondering if it's something that could ever happen in real life. I don't know if we're gonna have precogs or anything, but to be able to predict crimes like that, I don't know if that's something way down the road could ever be a thing. But yeah, I'd probably put it more in an A tier. But that's me. But what do you think, JT?
Yeah, I would go A also, only because I think the first 90% of the movie, I'm completely on board. I kind of agree with Jordan. The last 10 to 15 minutes, once he gets to his wife's house and he gets captured, and the whole him showing up with his head shaved, and he kind of confronts Max von Sydow, it just, I don't know, the ending felt almost like it kind of just came a little bit rushed. I know he's trying to figure things out. Whereas the beginning where he's a cop is fascinating. I love the stuff where he's on the run. The scene where he confronts the guy who he thought killed his kid is some of the best acting Tom Cruise has done. I could see the emotion building inside him. So I love this movie, but because the last 10 to 15 minutes don't quite land as strong as I wish they did, I would put it in the A category.
Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
Well, I mean, it's Spielberg with the biggest star of all time, and so that's going to put it up high if they modestly connect them. But they do knock it pretty solidly out of the park. But I think it falls just short of the S as well. I go with an A. Refresh my memory because it's been a while, but he gets new eyeballs, right? And then but there's something about you can't take the wrap up his head.
Yeah.
But then it does come off, but then he's okay. Like, doesn't that happen in the movie? Like, I remember that disconnect happening. It reminded me of Star Wars.
But it's a lot to go into.
Yeah,
right.
He says he can't. He says, it's almost like we recommend you don't do this for this amount of time. And they lifted up a little bit just so they could scan his eye. So it's not like he got into direct sunlight, which I think was the main concern.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and Peter Stormare put his eyeballs in, so can you really trust it?
I don't know. On this movie, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small detail.
Chance, I want the PowerPoint on this movie
I
right now.
I will send you the PowerPoints.
But the excitement, and the fact that they just went and got a think tank of actual, engineers and geniuses on Earth to create what the future would look like, and lo and behold, a lot of these things are happening, from scanning retinas to determining what your advertising is going to be, personalizing advertising for you. Basically, it hasn't happened with retina scans quite yet, but we're on our way. And the cars that drive themselves, we're on our way. Yep. They were sort of not entirely on tracks, but even trackless a bit, and that. So it was fascinating to see, in retrospect too, how on point they were with their predictions.
Yeah, I think A is a great spot.
Yeah,
I'll take A. I wanted to ask, I'll take A.
A is the consensus.
I'll take A.
I can say that word. But we'll throw it over to Austin.
All right. Let's talk about a movie that nobody talks about, and there's a reason why nobody talks about it, and nobody even remembers it. So I'm going to argue for D level, not F level, but D level, Always. Let's get it up here and talk about it.
Okay.
So I saw this for the first time a few weeks ago, bought the Blu-ray, knew nothing about it, didn't even read the back of the cover, just wanted to watch it. And it's got a very weird plot. And there's a reason why nobody talks about this movie. It's like a ghost type plot, which oddly enough came out like a year later, where Dreyfuss sacrifices himself while he's fighting wildfires in a plane. Yep. And then he's trying to get this milquetoast guy played by some actor I don't even remember because he just went on and did TV. I don't even remember his name. It's like Ben something. And he's trying to get him with his ex-girlfriend played by Holly Hunter. Like, he's pushing her in the afterlife, like talking in his ear, and it's weird. And John Goodman's his like firefighting buddy, and they fly stuff. Like, the reason it's just, the whole thing is forgettable, and there's a reason why nobody talks about that. It's just, there's nothing memorable about it. But I can't put it in an F level because, again, the filmmaking is well done. The firefighting wildfire sequences are actually quite good and very memorable when you do watch the movie. That's the only thing you remember after it. And John Goodman's good in it. Richard Dreyfuss is good in it, and the whole thing. I always forget I saw it, so Always goes in D level for me.
Right, Always.
Just for sake of time, does anybody strongly disagree with D?
Nope.
No,
Yeah.
I have never seen it.
Okay,
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
I
figured it'd be one a lot of people hadn't seen,
Yeah.
so that's why I just wanted to bring it up really quick. But I just had to talk about it at least briefly because nobody talks about the movie. But again, there's a reason for it.
I think you hit it dead on. Like, the only thing that keeps it from F is I like John Goodman, I like Richard Dreyfuss, I like the cast, and that's the only thing that keeps it from F.
Yeah.
And Audrey Hepburn's still doing well in her age.
Yeah.
So.
There might be too much. There might be too much charm. It dilutes the drama of the movie. You know, like his death kind of is not like heavy. It's then we're just having fun in the afterlife, and I'm Dreyfuss and I'm cracking jump, and I'm like, it just felt like there was a disconnect throughout the making of that entire movie. But it is a remake too. It's based on a guy named Joe. I think was the first movie that it's based on. So it was interesting one to want to redo. But
well, I think that's the consensus. So we'll throw it over to Chris.
Cool.
Okay. So no one's touched on this, and it might be because as a kid, I had these books in my library at school in elementary. The Tintin books. Loved them.
Okay.
And checked them out all the time. They were just phenomenal. And of course, then I watched the cartoons, which furthermore really captured the character and really did a good job. This is something that really surprised me. As a huge fan of Tintin, I went into it and I was kind of like, okay, they're probably going to butcher it. But they didn't. They delivered. And the cast was phenomenal. And Daniel Craig as the villain was flipping phenomenal. He was just a perfect villain. I know they set this up for a sequel, and I just absolutely loved it. The music's incredible. The writing's solid. For that reason, I feel like it, and I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree, but I feel like this definitely belongs in A. Absolutely.
All right.
Above Minority Report.
All right.
Okay, now, go to me right now. Now, fuck that. It's going down to me.
I mean, alphabetically, you're correct.
Alphabetically correct, but no, quality-wise, fuck off with that bullshit. Because look, I like Tintin. Tintin's good. I think the animation style is really interesting. For some reason, Spielberg just hadn't tried this at any point, which is odd to think about it because, like you said, it's such a big, crowd-pleasing filmmaker. But no, this is definitely B tier Spielberg. This doesn't go in the A tier.
Yeah, I would just say that probably you're going to rank this a lot higher if you grew up with it. Like I know Chris, you're a huge Tintin fan, and you probably watched the cartoon. You read the books, all of that. So I mean, I've never seen any of that, and not seeing any of that. Like I would agree with Chance more. Like I'd put it in a B tier. I think I think that's about as good as any spot for it. But do we have any other thoughts? I'm just going to open it up just for the sake of time. But if anyone has anything that they want to say about it,
I like this film. I would put it in B also, but I really like this movie. It's one of my favorite 3D Blu-rays. I think Spielberg, watching this movie, like Chance said, it was fun to see him tackle a new kind of filmmaking. And you could tell there's certain points in this movie where he's just loving the fact that he could put the camera wherever he wants, with shots that go on for 5 minutes. The whole chase sequence down the hill, it never cuts. It just goes from spot to spot. And I'm like, that is Spielberg, untethered. He can put this camera wherever his imagination wants it to be. And I think for that, I really enjoy the movie, but I would put it in B.
Yeah. So it sounds like the consensus is probably B, besides Chris. Sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there unless I get any objections.
Chris, do you know the subtitle of the movie?
What do you mean the subtitle of the movie?
The Adventures of Tintin:
Yes, I don't.
The Secret of
That's how little people are talking about it. Even the ones who Secret of the Unicorn. There you go.
Okay. Well, I still loved it. It's an absolutely phenomenal movie. I love that it didn't try to be a kid movie. That's one of the things I loved about it. You even still got the bad language in there and everything else.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. So, anyways, I know obviously you guys didn't like it. So, yeah, whatever.
No, I'm
I like it.
Dude, B's are good for Spielberg. B is good.
B is passing.
Yeah,
B is good.
Pretty good.
If it was C, I would argue
it's whatever. I really don't. Yeah, no. This is what movies I love.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, 2001.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah. Joe's one of the bullshit. No.
But I do think it's very odd that he did the long uncut action sequence because in animation, is that impressive? It was cool.
It's not that it's impressive. It was just Spielberg finally able to not have to worry about the laws of physics and where can he put a camera. It was basically, I can do whatever I want here, and it was just kind of cool to see.
Fuck yeah. Freedom.
Yeah, exactly. he went for it. You watch that movie, he went for it. All right, whose turn is it?
Absolutely. So it's my turn now.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movies. I don't know if everybody loves it quite as much as I do. Maybe we'll see. But I'm going to go with Catch Me If You Can. I think that's a definite S tier for me. I absolutely love this movie. I love the Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, just the role that he plays of just this guy who's pretty much deceives everyone on such a grand scale, and he does all these different jobs. He is a pilot. He's a doctor. He's all these different things, just the dynamic between him and Tom Hanks, and then you even have Christopher Walken as his dad. I enjoy him in it. So I mean, I would definitely put it in an S tier. But what do you guys think?
Minority Report is a better movie from O2, so no, that goes in A. I go the Minority Report.
I would put it in A also. I think it's Tom Hanks and Leo are fantastic. I think Christopher Walken, who was nominated for Oscar, is fantastic. Amy Adams shows up. Julie not Gardner, Julie, who from Ben Affleck's ex-wife. Julie Gardner. No, am I right?
Jennifer Gardner.
Jennifer Gardner.
Jennifer,
I was saying Julie wrong. Jennifer Gardner shows up. I think it's one of those movies that's like a great comfort movie. You can throw it on anytime, just have a good time from beginning to end. I think Leo gives a great performance. So I would put it in A. I wouldn't put it in superior though.
So it sounds like probably it is probably more A. I mean,
I would definitely go
Okay.
A. I rewatched it a couple days ago. It feels weirdly like more of a Scorsese movie because you've got like DiCaprio and it moves at a really quick clip. Like I kind of forget that it's a Spielberg movie sometimes. But it's very, very entertaining and very good. The scams are interesting. The characters are interesting. The set design is amazing. And it feels like a 60s movie. Like he really immerses that world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I go more like A level. I don't think it's on that superior level, but it's very, very, very good. I think it's easily like his top probably 10 or 15 movies. I think it's really, really good.
Right. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at A.
Chris, Paul, do you guys disagree at all? Or?
Well, I would go with B probably because
B?
it does do everything right. I love Hanks. In the same year he did Road to Perdition, just to show you how amazing he is. Two entirely different performances. Walken's great. John Williams' score again is fantastic. Totally off the beaten path of his anthemic stuff that he normally does.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just don't remember much of it.
Has it been a while since you revisited it?
It has, but other movies I've seen.
You need to revisit it. It's really good.
Yeah, I recommend you give it a watch.
Probably, it might jump up to an A if I see it again, but I give it a B. But probably going to land an A, and I'm cool with that.
Quick side note, Trevor, do you guys know what Tom Hanks' all-time favorite movie is?
I don't know.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington?
No, it's actually 2001: Space Odyssey. He hosts. I'm not lying. He hosts every year at ArcLight when they play it in the Cinema Dome.
Awesome.
He goes and sees it every year.
Wow. Yeah,
That's where I saw it last. Yeah, the anniversary.
Yeah. He goes every year. It's his favorite movie.
Did you guys ever see the Simpsons tribute that they did to Catch Me If You Can? They get the music right. They get like all the animation for the opening credits. That's pretty good. If you haven't seen that, I would definitely recommend checking that out. It's a fun watch. But
so one of my favorite movies from this, I gotta mention this. Me and my buddy always quote the knock knock joke scene. It's like, guess what? Knock knock. What? Fuck you. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Nice. So we're gonna throw it over to JTE. You're up.
Let's see. Where should I go? All right. Well, you know what? We're speaking. I want to try to get all the S's out of the way. So I'm going to put Close Encounters of the Third Kind as an S movie. I think it's still one of his best films. I saw it 2 years ago when they re-released it in theaters for the anniversary. It's some of Spielberg's best setup, like the scene where Richard Dreyfuss pulls up to a railroad crossing, and cars keep coming up behind him to the point where you think another car is coming behind him, and he's just like, come on, go around me. And then the lights just go up and you realize it's a UFO. I mean, this movie it's the reason I think it belongs up in the S is because it's parodied in like so many movies, TV shows. The score by John Williams, those 5 notes are iconic. And the scale of this movie, they're finding ships in the middle of a desert. At the same time where it's a small personal family film, it's also this huge science fiction kind of epic at times, and he balances them both perfectly. And I think it's one of the most influential sci-fi films of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
No disagreement there. This is definitely an S.
Agree. This is an S, and it's buried also in the not buried, but it's teeming with 70s cinema, and I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam and I at the movie guys, I'm going to make a quick plug. Just launched a podcast called The Ford Fiesta. We're covering every Harrison Ford movie, one per episode,
That's
one
awesome.
per week, from Dead Heat and Merry Ground on through Call of the Wild. We just touched on American Graffiti, and I coined a phrase called genius incest. In the 70s, all these guys were like working with each other, and they were all geniuses. Spielberg, De Palma, Scorsese, Coppola, Lucas, and you can see their influence on each other's movies, and this is just seeped in that 70s. So later, he would apply the same sort of thing. JT, you just talked about family story meets amazing sci-fi. Clearly, he moved into the family realm of that with E.T., but this is like more of a 70s movie, which is why my favorite Star Wars movie is Star Wars. I love that era. This movie is great. A or S.
Yeah, for
sorry,
sure.
S.
S.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really argue against it. It's I think I just wanted to shout out the scene where the kid gets abducted is horrifying.
It's horrifying. It's like a horror movie.
It's no. If you didn't know it was like a alien sci-fi movie, you'd think it was a horror movie like Poltergeist or something. I mean, it's absolutely horrifying. And I just saw the movie for the first time about a month ago. I had not actually gone and seen it. And it works. All the family dynamic stuff in the beginning of the movie works, and a lot of that is very personal to Spielberg as well. He actually took some of his real life experiences with his dad and put them in the movie, like lines that his dad used back in the day. I can't argue against S-level Close Encounters.
So I'm going to be the only one that goes against this whole group. I think it's an okay movie. I don't think, I've watched it a few times. Yes, there are some great scenes in it, but is it like unbelievable? No.
Yes.
It's good. Yes. I would have to put it in A tier, behind the Post, because I'm going to give you a nudge up with the Post, but obviously my vote doesn't count as much because you guys have rated it higher, but that's where I'd put it.
All right, it's fair enough.
Can I just point out two things? First of all, that we're just past the halfway point of the show. That I don't think, as I think I mentioned earlier, there isn't really a ranking in each tier with it, like which is the best S and the worst S. Yeah. But you did, Jordan did slyly put Catch Me If You Can just above Tom Cruise, kind of, if that side of Minority Report. You just put it in there and then Chase just let it go. Chase just let it go.
I mean, I'm not happy about that. That should be put Tom Cruise above right now, Jordan.
Right.
I will sue if you don't put him above.
And the other thing is, how does this show get out in under 2 hours? It'll never ever happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, we gotta start. We gotta start moving through these. Man.
Why would I? I mean, talking movies, forget it.
Well, we just go to the 2 hour mark. We usually don't get everything ranked, but we get as much as we can ranked. We usually shoot for the solid S tier. That's the main goal thing. But I do want to point out that so I just saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind actually today. It was the very first time that I watched it, and I didn't even realize that it was a borderline horror movie. Like, there's some horrifying things in there that I was like, wow, I had no idea. Like, I just thought that it was a sci-fi movie, but like it's a little both. So I thought it was great. S tier. Yeah, I would agree. Mm-hmm. But let's go over to Paul. What do you got?
Oh, wait, is it JTE or no?
No, I just did.
Sorry, I'm not going to help you get the S tier together because I need to take the BFG and recognize the F in it. The F stands for F. Terrible. This came out at a time when Spielberg was making some family stuff and some adult stuff, and he always kind of did that. He put out Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year, but it wasn't working with that balance around this time. It was mid 2010s, so I think this came out in 2016. So you had Crystal Skull and Tintin and all these. Not quite. I mean, Crystal Skull made a ton of money, but it was terrible. Tintin was better, but didn't connect with an audience, and so it seemed like Lincoln and Bridge of Spies and the adult stuff, Munich, were the more better movies, regardless of whether the audience clicked in there or not. So then the BFG came out. I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to get back to the kid thing. No. And it's Roald Dahl, who I love, but the story is all over the place. First of all, it's horribly underwritten. They talk about this awful orphanage this girl is in. You never see it. They talk about how deadly the giants are. You never see it. There's tons of nut shots to giants, which if you like that, have that. There's tons. And they end up in Buckingham Palace doing a whole fish out of water, a bunch of gags and stuff, which totally throw the stakes out the window. So the movie's just it's a big old mess. And it's John Williams without a theme, which is my least favorite kind of John Williams. He didn't have this decent score, but there's no theme, and so not working there for me. F.
Well, would anyone want to rank it higher? Is there any arguments to?
I mean, I will unenthusiastically argue for D. I don't fucking care. If you got to put it in F, I mean, it's surprising how underwritten it is, considering the book is this thick. You'd think the B's here.
Right.
Yeah, Paul, put it in F. That's fine.
Yeah, Paul, I'm like D, F level, somewhere in there. It took me 2 days to watch this. It was one of my first time watches over the last month. It took me 2 days. I fell asleep multiple times trying to watch this movie, and it's dull, it's boring. 15 minutes in, you're just like, what are we doing? There's nothing memorable about it to me. I mean, the animation is good, I guess. But it's like, that's really the only thing it has going for it, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm okay with like D or F. Really, it's definitely bottom of the barrel Spielberg to me. It's just unmemorable.
Yeah, there we go. F is fine.
I agree. I love Doll, but this really does not do a good job paying homage to the book. It's garbage. And as you said, we do a lot more like telling than showing for that. And yeah, definitely F for me. Absolutely, I agree.
Yep, I'm the same way. Like, probably his chance. Like I could fight for a D because of the John Williams score. I thought it was actually decent in it, but I mean, I don't care. Like, you can put it in F. I'm totally fine. So, yeah, but yeah, we'll start over to Chance.
Let's add some depth to this F tier. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Oh
yeah.
Hell yeah! Throw that shit.
Is this movie bad?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! I know people who defend it. Okay, I know one guy who defends this, PJ Campbell. And I don't understand why. This movie's fucking awful. Harrison Ford looks so goddamn bored. Yeah,
he does.
It's ironic that a series with this many good special effects would approve of something this horrid looking. Like, nothing looks convincing. Nothing looks there. Nothing looks tangible. It's not. It's the plot is ridiculous. Like we go from again, like the first one had supernatural element. This is fucking aliens and like time travel. It's ridiculous. It's awful. It's maybe one of the most disappointing movies of the past 20 years. So this is definitely off. Like, no question.
Yeah, it makes Temple of Doom. It makes Temple of Doom look like an S-level movie. I will say that for sure. Yeah, and I like Temple of Doom, and it's man, I remember just coming out of the theater, just going like, dude, like, what happened? Just what happened? Yeah. This could have been great.
What did you do?
Well, there's those lines of dialogue, right? Chance, like, you remember when he's getting like interrogated after the nuke the fridge thing?
Oh,
he's talking about all these. Yeah. I'm like, where's that movie? I want to see him in World War II. Like, why are we not watching those adventures of him being like a spy? Like, that'd be awesome. And instead we get this. So yeah, I can't disagree with you, Chance. It's down there.
No, we just need Indy fighting Nazis. Like Indy has to fight Nazis. Because if he fights anything else, it feels awkward to me. Like, you got like, he's just quintessential. That's what we think.
You can fight Nazis, or you can fight Nazis. Pick one.
Right. Yep, exactly. But yeah, so I think that's a consensus. So we'll go to
I'm curious what Paul says.
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite film of all time. This is my least favorite. Sure. I don't know how we did it, but everything, I go back and just rewind and listen to everything I said about Raiders. This does the opposite. They don't go on location. Totally. They muddle up the story. There's so much CGI and all the stunts. The whole thing is completely charmless. There's a quicksand scene. F.
Yeah.
That's a defense. So do you hate Blazing Saddles? Because that's a quicksand scene.
No, because it's a comedy.
Quicksand. I mean, Princess Bride. Princess Bride.
Am I looking at this the wrong way? Is Crystal Skull a comedy? Maybe it is. Maybe it's on me.
Maybe we're all misunderstanding Crystal Skull.
Yep.
I did like at the very end when he takes the hat away from.
Which I love.
It was great moment.
Yep.
No, not yet, kid. You know, like, oh, where was that guy? Oh, it's over. Damn it. You know, like.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Well,
right, Austin.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about a movie I have mixed feelings on. I still think it's good Spielberg, but not great Spielberg. Let's talk about Amistad for a second, and I'll kind of lay out my argument for it. So I'm gonna argue for like a B or C level. I'm leaning more towards B. And the reason I'm conflicted on it and not ranking higher, I think that movie is, again, very well made. Jimon Hansu is amazing. I think Matthew McConaughey is good. Anthony Hopkins, everybody's good in it. I think Steven Spielberg is way more interested in the old-timey politics and them arguing about things like that in that movie, because it becomes like this weird court movie, and it becomes way more focused on McConaughey's legal movie rather than it loses focus of Jimon Hansu's slave story, and it starts out amazing. That opening scene is incredible. I watched it again recently, and it was like, wow, this is cerebral. Like, this is raw stuff, and his sequences showing the horrors of slavery are, again, very disturbing, very hard to watch. It's very, very good filmmaking, but I think he loses track of that halfway through the movie. So again, I'm going to argue for like a B level, but I brought this up in the chat, in our Facebook chat, that I need more opinions on it because I'm kind of still conflicted on it. So I'm going to argue for B level, but I'm open to other arguments.
No, I mean it's probably like my second or third favorite Matthew McConaughey lawyer movie. I do enjoy it. I think that this would be a C level, but like honestly, I think pushes to B for me is Jim Hantu. I think is fucking excellent.
Yeah, he's really good.
Film. Like maybe the best performance of his career, and that's saying a lot because he's a really great actor. But yeah, I'm okay with being a B.
I would argue for a C, and I feel like I agree with you. Like he is more interested in those politics things, where I feel like he went into Lincoln was like, oh my god, now I can just do a whole movie.
That's what he focused on in Lincoln, and he's like, I can do 3 hours of this in Lincoln, and it's what he wanted to do. So for sure. For me, the only reason why I put it with C is for me, B is something like I could like rewatch anytime it's on cable. I could just be like, oh, I could get back into this movie. Amistad. Even though there's a lot of things I like about the movie, there's not a lot of rewatchability. It's not like a movie I want to just throw on to catch up on some old Spielberg. It's going to be it's not bad though. It's not like F or D level. It's C right in the middle. There's stuff in it I can appreciate, but it's not something I'm running to revisit very often.
Yeah, I'll go with a C.
All right. I can go with the C too.
He tried to accomplish what he did in '93. He gave us a Jurassic Park movie and a Prestige picture, but neither were as good as the '93 movies. This one gets super melodramatic. He does his swelling score, uplifting camera with the light behind the character talk. Give us free. That whole thing was overdone. It could have been so much simpler, and that was his way back then. He kind of got out of that soon after, clearly with Saving Private Ryan. Then he found ways to revisit that throughout the rest of his career. So a little too melodramatic for me, but I'll go C on that.
That's a good point. He definitely, it's not subtle. That's for sure.
No, and neither is the score. The John Williams score beats you over the head throughout that whole movie about what you're supposed to feel in every scene. And again, I'm open to the C level. I needed more opinions as to kind of where I was going, so I'm okay with that. If everybody else,
Amistad's like, give me a Oscar, give me a Oscar.
And they did.
That's pretty much.
And they did not.
Yeah,
no, Steven.
He got nominated, but all right. So yes, I think we agree. C.
Yep, I've never seen it. That was the next one on my watch list. I just ran out of time to really watch. So, so
it's not bad. Like I think you should watch it. I just don't think you're going to be amazing.
You'll enjoy it. Then you won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So Chris, you're up again.
So one of the stories I love is A War of the Worlds. Okay, I love the play. The live replay is incredible. The story is solid, but this movie is just horrible. I really don't know what the hell they were doing.
Disagree. Ooh, big fight. It's
literally horrible. I was like, this is not War of the Worlds at all. This is a piece of shit vehicle for Tom Cruise, and it's not even that good at that point. It would have to go. I mean, I'm okay not putting it in F, but it definitely belongs in D behind always.
Okay.
Because it's that forgettable and that bad and strays that far from the solidness of the original. Like I even recently re-listened to it on Spotify because it's all there in its beautiful glory and just it's chilling and just amazing. And not this piece of shit.
All right.
Big fight. Big fight.
Oh, well, I want to hear it. Yeah, but these two don't like it.
All right, dude, listen. I think War of the Worlds is one of the best remakes that's ever been done, and I love the original movie because I think the sequences, especially in the first hour of that movie, is some of the most terrifying raw filmmaking I've seen from Steven Spielberg. I think that first sequence when they kill everybody on the streets and Tom Cruise is running away from it, doing his thing, and people are just turning to dust. I mean, it's horrifying. I think when Dakota Fanning sees the bodies rolling down the river is horrifying. I think the sequence, over the hill when all the things are hitting the shields and the helicopters are just getting blown up is terrifying. When they're scooping people up out of the water, I think all that stuff is terrifying. And it's an absolute accurate representation of if there was some aliens that wanted to come down here and kick our asses, that's exactly what would happen. and they would do it. And I think it's terrific filmmaking. It looks unique to all of his other films. I think it looks amazing. The cinematography is amazing. The Tim Robbins stuff in the middle is kind of wonky, and I can admit to that, which is why I don't put it in like S level Spielberg. I would argue for A, and I think it's really, really great.
I'm somewhere in the middle of this. I would argue for like a C tier. Like it's like the concept of War of the World. I think is still. I don't spoil it. I don't think the execution is as good as the Orson Welles teleplay. Like even the original, I think it's fine. I think the Orson Welles, but like as a movie, like it's just too problematic a premise, and the endings doesn't pay off at all. I think again the stuff at the beginning with like the whole like invasion part. I think that works. It works well. It kind of descends as the movie goes on. Like, I honestly wish Tom Cruise could return to dust because I find those two little fuckers annoying. Like, I honestly wish Dakota Fanning and Justin Chatwin would return to dust at some point because I hate those kids. But
get in.
So you're saying C
from Dakota Fanning. This high pitched screaming that I can't stand.
I've never wanted to like smack around the child more than in that movie.
No, and I can't argue against the Dakota Fanning stuff. It is pretty bad, but I think if you can separate that from the rest of the movie, I think the filmmaking is top notch, and it plays like a horror movie, which is what I love about it. Is that it's literally an alien horror movie. These aliens are killing everybody, and it's terrifying to me. And it just gets to me every time I watch it. I've rewatched it a lot. So again, I'm okay with it being a little lower, but to me, in my mind, it's like A-level Spielberg. I think it's really good.
A-level, yeah. Here's the thing. I watched this movie maybe like 2 months ago. I think I am so on board with this movie. It's like rocking and rolling up until that third act when you get to Tim Robbins' house. Yeah. To me, the movie just stalls right there, and you spend so much time in that basement. And from that point forward, like the movie kind of loses me. But I love everything before it. I love the ferry scene. Mm-hmm. I love the scene when the attack first happens. I love those big moments. I just think he got stuck in that basement way too long. And I was just uninterested. So for me, it's a B. It's between B and C. So you can make an argument for either B or C for me, and I can understand both. Like the first 70% is so good, I want to throw it in like B. But then that last 30% is a C. So I don't know. I guess I would put it in B or C minus or C. I don't know. Between B and C, I'll let you guys argue B or C.
Well, Paul, you're the only one that hasn't talked about this one yet.
All right.
I go B, and I really give it. I really just
I'm okay with
impressed. B. I really just get impressed with the technical prowess, but it's not just that the opening sequences and the fear and the intensity of them all, and like the ferry scene with the people scrambling, and it's not that they're just all well done. But wait, it's not that they're just scary. They're extremely well done. Like the effects are phenomenal in this movie, and he films all the deaths in the street with the first, when they first come out, the whole earth sinks, and then they come out and just start like taking people out with their lasers, and he films it all very interesting, reflections in windows, shots in cameras, and it was all unique and interesting to me. So I was in for that, and I agree the second half falls apart, but there's enough in that first half where I was like, man, that was I also wanted to point out The Post so far is one of Spielberg's top 10 movies according to us. Go ahead.
Right.
And Tom Cruise is in it, so I'm okay with putting this in B. Even though he should be in front of the line in A, and he's still not. Jordan, get on that. But
right.
Wait, one more follow-up question. Kalinowski doesn't like Crystal Skull, does he?
Chance.
I hope
no,
not.
He doesn't.
Okay, good.
His favorite is Temple of Doom for some reason, but yes, he doesn't like Crystal Skull.
So be it.
Interesting.
All right, whose turn?
All right,
Jordan's turn.
Consensus said that was C for that.
I think it's my turn.
No, it was B.
No, we all voted B.
I was B or C, and then I was okay with B.
I'm okay with B, even though I said A, but I'm okay with B.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's see. From what we have left, I mean, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a hot take. So I'm gonna do Lincoln, and I did not really care for this movie that much. I mean, but I will say that the performance for Daniel Day-Lewis was absolutely incredible. I don't think that he's ever given a bad performance, but I mean, the movie just kind of bored me. Like it had a solid cast, but it's just one of those that I went to see it with my grandparents because they wanted to see it, and like it's just a movie like more for the older crowd. I feel like I just didn't really connect with it very well. But I won't say that it's a bad movie. Like I still give it a solid B, but like I just don't really care for it. But I can see why people do like it. So that's just kind of my take on it. But what do you guys think?
I'll start. I would argue A. I think it's a fantastic film. I think if you're not interested in what he's trying to tell here, if you're not into these politics and these speeches, because it almost plays like conversation after conversation, I could understand you not loving the movie. But I think it's just such a well acted, shot movie. I think it's rousing by the end. I think Daniel Day-Lewis gives one of the best performances he's ever given, and I loved every second of this movie. Like again. There's going to be a personal preference for all of us. Some people are going to like some movies more than others because of the subject material. But I think if you just look at this at every aspect of filmmaking, acting, set production, the cast overall is amazing. Even the smallest supporting characters, the James Spader, are fantastic. I thought this movie was fantastic. It was one of my favorites of the year. I would put it in the A category.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I also put it in A. I think that the craft is there. I think that the cast is fantastic. I think it's I love the maturity level of it, and I also think that it's like if you look at the time where it came out, like you could see it as like a great parallel to like LGBTQ rights, them trying to fight for that. And I think that Spielberg saw that, and like he tried to work that into a movie, but in a way that was more accessible. And I also like American history. I think it's a very good portrayal of really integral part of American history. So I would definitely argue it's for A.
Yeah, I would argue more for like a B level, but I can definitely appreciate the craft that's going on. And although I think without the Daniel Day-Lewis and Tommy Lee Jones performances in the movie, I think it wouldn't be as good. But again, they are in the movie, so they are that good. And then so you can't really argue against that. But to me, yeah, again, if you're not super interested in underground 1860s politics, you're not going to be interested in that stuff. But it's very well done. It's just not a movie I go back and rewatch like at all, hardly. So it's the only reason I put it in a B level is the rewatchability is not really there for me. But I'm okay with A or B level.
So I grew up in Virginia. I've always loved history, especially like the Civil War. I think Lincoln is a fascinating person, especially going back and reading like what he wrote. What a ridiculously intelligent individual. Daniel Day-Lewis just nailed him. I feel like he just brought Lincoln to life. The movie was solid. The everything. It made you feel like you could be in there in the room with them.
Yeah.
This issue that Lincoln was trying to struggle with. And of course, not everybody agreed with. For that reason, I also agree. I think it belongs in A. And let's put it at the top of A.
No.
Right.
You're ranking within the letter. I give this a B. I give this a B. I think it was
the letter.
I think it was impressive, but it might also be more like those 70s movies I was talking about before, in that I saw, when I got into movies, I was like, I need to see all the old movies. I saw stuff like Network and Chinatown, and they all went over my head. I still feel like I missed something with Lincoln. I liked it, but I bet you he's a rock star, and I didn't know it. And I need to see it again to just get how rock starry he was. And so it needs another view from me, but from what I recall of it, it's a B.
There's this part of me that just kind of feels bad putting anything Daniel Day-Lewis has ever done below A, but I mean, but I do kind of feel like it's a B though. So I mean,
you can put Phantom Thread below A. It's fine.
Right.
So
what was that movie? The Nine, that musical movie you did? You
Nine,
can put that
yes.
down.
Oh, yeah.
So
Or where he strikes oil, another piece of shit movie. Yes.
Jesus Christ! Shut up, Chris.
That movie's amazing.
You're done.
oh no, Chris, you're insane. So three
Jordan,
of us said
you can
A.
go ahead and mute Chris. I think he's done.
Three
for the night. We're done.
of us said A. So it should be
Three
yes.
said A, three said B. Does anybody want to? Three of us said A, three said B.
But
So
Jordan led with a C, though, didn't he?
no, you said
No,
B, right?
He led with A.
I said B.
Oh,
B.
okay.
I said B,
B?
but
Okay.
but I
Yeah,
can see
Austin,
why people want
Chance,
it.
and I.
Can
I
see it.
said B.
Oh, you said B. Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I
never
said
mind.
B.
Never mind. It's B. Forget it.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
B. But
all
we're
right.
back to JTE.
Well, I lost that round. Let's see. Let's go. man, do I play it safe here? Do I go? All right, I'm gonna put this one. I'm gonna put this one in S, and I feel like some of you guys might argue. You might not agree. It's not Saving Private Ryan. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Last Crusade, is on par with the first Raiders of the Ark. I think it's. I would give the edge. I will give the edge to Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's the first one. And I think it's close to. It's pretty much a perfect movie in a lot of ways. I think Last Crusade gets so close that it deserves to be in that S category.
It's a toss up between that and Raiders of the Lost Ark for me. As to which one that I like better. Like I probably edge it out with Raiders, but I mean, yeah, it's an S tier movie for sure, and like just the relationship between father and son with Sean Connery, like it's just
the tank scene with the horses.
And I think it's such a great inspired casting with Sean Connery because Indiana Jones is famously based on James Bond. So who do you get to play his dad? You get the greatest James Bond of all time. So and it is also like goes back and forth. Like, after watching Emma, it goes back and forth with Raiders, my favorite Indiana Jones movie. So
I'm with you. And that opening with River Phoenix is fantastic. It's like a mini prequel. I'm glad you guys are agreeing with me. Anybody disagree?
JT, I'm gonna 100% agree with you. It's S level Spielberg, and I was going to be afraid to nominate it for S level Spielberg as well because I thought people were going to outrage me. Well, I knew people were going to say it was at least A level because it absolutely is. But I would nominate S. It's my personal favorite. I think it's right on par almost with Raiders. I think Raiders has had the bigger cultural impact and longevity as far as like impacting other movies. But I think Last Crusade, the adventure of that movie, is right up there with Raiders, and I think it's amazing.
Awesome.
This is a B.
What? You wouldn't even put it in A?
No, both.
Dude, Temple of Doom is a B.
Both of the sequels, and we don't recognize the third, sank well below what Raiders was trying to accomplish. I mean, this is from the writer, not kidding, of Funny Farm with Chevy Chase. There are too many jokes in this movie. Farm. It's a great movie.
Cinematic masterpiece.
I love that movie.
Comedy works.
Are you telling me that tank scene with the horses is not?
The tank scene is amazing. Inside the tank, however, Denholm Elliott is doing goofy shit. They completely shit on his character. He suddenly is an idiot. Like they do a whole thing where he doesn't know where he is. Sulla's acting goofy, and like the whole thing is a joke. And I found that a real run from the original. Wow. I love the opening. I mean, although. Really making every fear he's ever encountered be in one train car is a little much. I mean, there's a lot of little much going on here. It was the late 80s, and Spielberg was just getting out of hand. And I wish he returned to Raiders, which was still reflective of that 70s filmmaking, bled over into 81. So, but
it's where we agree to disagree.
Yeah, sure. It's good. It's a great ride. Come on. When I went to the double feature, it was the double feature with it, and I sat and I loved it. I had a great time. But I gotta go. This is not even freaking close to Raiders.
Wow, I think it's close, man. I battle between the two. Which one I like the most?
Really? Yeah. I'm here to see the tapestries. Was that what you were missing from Raiders of the Lost Ark? You say, hey, you know what, Harrison? Indiana Jones never did a character to try and get me.
There's nothing. He does a character. There's nothing. You say there's nothing ridiculous in Raiders? There's
two things: a monkey Heil Hitler's, and they do the bit with the coat, the hanger. That's it. There's 500 of them in this one. Okay. You know,
I don't know. I love it. I love Last Crusade.
That's
All right.
I love it.
It stays an S.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, but JT, you can't be too mad though because I give it a B, just like Lincoln.
Yeah, that's true. Long as an A.
All right, Paul, you're up. We're gonna see if we can round out what we got here.
All right, let's go with Saving Private Ryan.
All right.
For me, that's an A. I'm sorry, it's an S. That's
S.
Yeah, that's an S.
For sure.
It gets a little melodramatic in the non-wartime sequences before and after the bookended stuff. I don't think that actor is particularly great, but once you get to D-Day, that movie just takes off, and the whole microcosm of people sacrificing for the good of one takes hold of the whole film. He won Best Director for a reason. It's some of the most shocking stuff I ever saw when I was a young buck in the theater watching this one. Well, I was not young, but I hadn't quite seen anything as pulverizing as this. And still, I mean, the battle scenes at the end where Adam Goldberg gets stabbed in the chest, just one of the most horrifying things. Not to mention the D-Day sequence itself. So it's a must-see. It's high-end filmmaking. And then Hanks, again, just simply one of the greatest actors ever and should have been nominated for News of the World. Anyway, go ahead.
Listen, here's why Saving Private Ryan is S, because if you had just taken the first 15 minutes of that movie, the D-Day invasion, and put it out as a short film, it would still be S-level Spielberg, against everything else. It's the most real version. Oh, I understand. I'm just saying that's my argument for why it's elevated. You know what I mean? Like even that alone makes it S level. You know, even if the last 30 minutes was like bad, all that stuff in the beginning is amazing, and the whole movie's amazing. I'm not arguing against that. So it's S level Spielberg. I'm just saying, like, it's the most real version of war I think we've seen, scary version of war we've seen on screen, and everybody that makes war movies from then on tries to be Saving Private Ryan. He set the bar again.
I'll say this. I would argue for an A, but if I'm the only one, we can move on.
I mean, I'd argue for A as well. I'd argue for a high A.
Yeah, that's kind of where I would be.
Yeah, but I also give it A for I love the training device of, I'm gonna tell you a quick. I love a movie where I'm gonna tell you a quick story and tell you a 2-hour movie. And I just love going the whole thing and picture just like this old guy standing in that same spot for 3 hours. Is he moving? Did he die?
Yeah.
Sir,
the only way I would argue,
we got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Grandpa, we gotta move.
Yeah. I'll say this. I would only argue for A because I think that D-Day opening is amazing.
Yeah.
And the movie never quite gets back to that level. It's like you start off and you're just like, this is some of the greatest war. It's probably the greatest war scene ever filmed. But from that point forward, there's a lot of good stuff. But a lot of it is a little bit cliche. Kissing the cross, the sniper. I think he was using it a little bit as a love letter to the World War II films that he grew up watching. But he brought the realism to it that was just undeniable. Like you said, when that guy gets stabbed, it's gut-wrenching. And it's not romanticized at all. The war scenes feel like you're being dropped into the battle. But, Vin Diesel alone might bring it down to an A for me.
Yeah, that's something we can't ignore.
But here's the thing.
I'm not performance, though, that he's given.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones. I'm not going to argue with S. Put it that way. I'm not going to be here and be like, it has to be A. I would put it in A, but if you guys want S, I am totally fine with that, too.
Same here. I put it in A, but I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to fight it being an S.
Totally.
I'll just say one more last thought is all the images we brought up discussing this movie, the one that sticks with me is at the end, Tom Hanks' last few minutes before he dies, he's sitting there in the middle of a battle and a tank's coming at him. He takes out his gun. He's like to the very end. That's how these guys are built. And it's just gut-wrenching. I mean, that's the shot that stays with me.
Austin, Chris, Jordan, are you guys all in S category on this one?
I'm in S. I'm okay with A, but I'm arguing for S. Yes.
I'm not okay with it.
So I would say absolutely yes. And I disagree to a degree with a lot of things you guys said. Apparently, which is apparently. Anyways, but it's only because of the level of detail and everything he put into this movie, researching what these veterans went through, and he made it very real and very true to their experience, and that's what makes it an absolute S tier movie.
Regardless, still should have beaten Shakespeare in Love at the Oscars for Best Picture.
Yeah, for sure. No one's gonna disagree.
No one's gonna argue that.
No.
All right, so it's my turn next, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep Tom Hanks going, but let's acknowledge the worst film named Spielberg, The Terminal. Let's put that in D class.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird airport Burger King movie.
You can put that D or F for me.
Yeah, no, The Terminal. I don't know who love this movie. I can't imagine why.
I have to ask you though, Chance. When was the last time you rewatched it? When was the last time you rewatched it?
Not that long ago, honestly.
Okay, because I rewatched it 2 days ago, and I remember it being boring, and it played much better for me this time around. I don't know what it was. I thought it was pretty entertaining. It moved really well. I got more sucked into the story than I did in the theater. I can't really argue against, as far as if we're ranking Spielberg against Spielberg, it's like more into the C and D level. Like I can't argue for it being like an A movie, but I'm just saying I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. F's too harsh. I think.
Yeah, F is harsh.
F is harsh. I think
I'm okay with D.
It's hard for me to say it's better than Amistad, so I'd have to put it in D.
No.
Yeah, I can't argue it's better than Amistad.
We're not putting that across. This is D.
Yeah.
Much to look at, and Zeta Jones is lovely to look at, but this is D.
Does anybody disagree?
Yeah, for me,
It surprised me.
Oh.
You guys disagree. I feel like at this point it's like whatever I say, you guys will disagree. So, anyways, I think Terminal's a solid movie. I think it's great writing. Obviously, you guys disagree, so I don't care.
Yeah.
I think I might give it a C for two words: Stanley Tucci, because next to Scott Bakula being frustrated to death by Matt Damon and The Informant, watching Stanley Tucci, he can't fucking get this guy out of the airport. It was super entertaining to watch, even if everything else fell apart around it. But still, that only would merit it a C. But you can stick it in D if you want. I'm not going to argue. Not the hill to die on.
D.
No one's going down the hill of the Terminal.
All right, Austin.
All right, well, I guess we can't go through and ignore the other Indiana Jones movies, so we'll talk about Temple of Doom real quick and see where everybody kind of ranks it. Again, I really enjoy the movie. I understand, but I understand its flaws, so I'm going to argue more for maybe a C level or B, C level maybe, and we'll kind of get a consensus maybe from there. I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot of arguments that it's not B or C level. Like, I don't think it's a horrible movie. I think that some of the sequences really, really work. The last 20 minutes is actually, it feels like a roller coaster ride because it genuinely is, and it's really good. Though I love horror movies, so the actual heart ripping scene is genuinely horrifying and plays like a horror movie, and it's really, really scary. And I think the villain is amazing. There's a lot of really good adventure and a good story behind it. Again, the performances of Kate Capshaw kind of drags the movie down, and I can fully realize that, even though I like the movie. But I like Short Round. I will argue for Short Round. I think he's a good little sidekick. I think he's okay. But I think Harrison Ford is good, and the set design is incredible. All that stuff in the mine and the heart chamber and everything is great. So I'll argue sort of B level, and we'll kind of see where we go from there.
I remember as a kid, it was always my favorite because I liked how how darker and weirder it was. But growing up as an adult, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely B. I give it B mostly because, again, I like the darker, weird elements of the film, and it gave us Data in the Goonies. So, B.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I saw Jurassic Park 6 times in the theater. I saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 6 nights in a row in the theater.
Wait, do you like it more than Last Crusade?
I like them. I give them both B's because there are tons of flaws in that. But obviously, a 14-year-old was like, "Wee!" watching Temple of Doom. But the bridge sequence is one of the greatest sequences of all time in an action movie. So that's a B, even if like the dopey eating at the buffet, with all the animal heads and stuff. Yeah, it just deflates all the important stuff they're supposed to be talking about.
You betrayed Shiva
all the time. It's like we should have real steak here.
You betrayed Shiva.
I'm with you guys at B. I think, B. It's a solid B.
It's stuck in the 80s.
Well, for me, when I compare it to what else is on the list, actually, Lincoln, I like it better than
Lincoln. Looks like it does not belong in that category.
No,
it should be an A, man.
Yeah,
you can bump
I like
Lincoln
it
up
better
to
than
A.
War of the Worlds. I like it better than Tintin. I like it better than The Post. I like it better than all those movies. So for that reason, I would give it an A. But it sounds like the consensus is a B, and I'm fine with that. So I mean, the B's are right.
Put the rest in C. Let's go
down
on an A.
Right.
Pretty much. Whose turn?
Well, at this point, so now that we're kind of winding down, we just want to come up with a solid S tier. So we want to have 10. So do you see any, I'm just going to open it up. No. Is there anything left that you would put
in S tier? None of these.
No.
I would. I'd put Color Purple there.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
I'm not going to get a consensus, but I'd do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
He wasn't the right guy to direct that movie, and he's even said that himself.
The biggest thing holding me back is Spielberg himself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so
Spielberg said it's not one of his best.
So, out of these, what would be the last two that would round out the top 10? Would we move up Minority Report and Catch Me If You Can, since they're the highest right now, or what? What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
That seems like the logical choice. So
I'm okay with that.
Good. Because always what I want to do is, I run.
So wait, there has to be 10. Is that the thing?
Yeah, so
he posted on the Facebook page like a top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna post on the Schmodown Friends and Family page that I run, and I'm gonna have the fans give their input on it, see what they think, and then usually like to come up with a couple honorable mentions. So I'm just gonna pull up. Usually I add like maybe 3 kind of just wild cards.
Pull up Lincoln.
What's that?
Lincoln, sure.
What are you doing?
Lincoln right there.
Sorry.
Yes, there we go.
So why are you promoting those to A?
Just because I just want to have just some honorable mentions. I mean, they don't really need to go to A, but like it's just,
fair enough.
Like it's just for the poll tomorrow. So.
The optics.
Wait, what else is left down there?
Can we throw Warhorse in like D or F?
Yeah,
just for the sake of it.
Because Warhorse is awful.
I've actually never seen it.
Boring.
So, but
Warhorse is boring.
Would you put any of these other movies like?
I don't know.
Put
maybe Empire of the Sun. Maybe
Empire of the Sun's like a C for me.
No, it's forgettable. Not good.
Munich is badass. Bro. Munich's like a B. That's
I'd put Munich in B.
Yeah, we could. I'd be right.
Anybody disagree with the Munich B?
I'm okay with Munich being in B. It's fine.
Quick question: Lost World. What about Lost World? Like, where do you guys put Lost World?
I personally. No, I personally have. I like Lost World. I enjoy Lost World. I think it's very entertaining. It's nowhere near Jurassic Park, but I think it's entertaining.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's
like a C level. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The book for Lost World is amazing. The movie is horrible, but it strays completely away from it.
I was
everybody out on 1941.
F. Yeah, D or F.
Yeah. It's a mess.
Can I propose
haven't seen Sugarland.
I've seen Sugarland.
I actually really like Sugarland a lot. I watched it actually.
Sugarland to me is just above a TV movie quality. It's like D level. It's okay. Not great.
Right.
I would say B.
Yeah.
For me, with Sugarland.
Oh really?
Put in C. Call it a drop. Put in C.
Yeah.
Bro, it's a 2-hour movie that should be like 80 minutes, bro. It's not good.
Yeah. Ready Player C?
Too long.
Yeah. I'd be a couple like C or B with that one.
C.
Yeah, I'd say.
And I said it should be in B.
I love
that movie's really good.
Bridge of Spies is like a D or C for me. I rewatched it recently. I could live with
Bridge of Spies is C for competent.
I'd say C for Color Purple.
That movie just got put in C.
What?
I avoided watching the movie forever. Nope. Ready Player One. Avoided watching it because it looked really shitty. I was like, nope, not going to do it because everyone praised this movie so much. And then I finally watched it and it blew me away. I thought it was a solid movie from beginning to end.
I mean, it's a fun movie, but
it's a fun movie. Are you okay with C?
No, I want A at least. It's an
awesome movie. I'm okay with the B.
You are crazy.
No.
You are out of your mind.
I think C though. Yeah, I think we gotta leave it there.
He left.
It's a consensus.
He's done.
He left or did you boot him? He left?
Did he leave?
I don't know. Yeah,
he left.
If you didn't boot him, he left.
Maybe.
I mean, listen, I can't. You know, if you don't have great taste in movies, what do you want me to do?
Fight.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. It's called Fights.
Fights in the titles, but that's all right.
I honestly argue for Empire Sun and B. I think the movie is really good.
Really,
maybe one of the more underrated.
His internet cut out.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Empire at B. I think I know some. Really? I know there's a big cult following out there that like a lot of people are like that's such underappreciated. I would go C to D, but what do you guys feel?
Christian Bale annoyed the crap out of me in that movie, but it's very well made.
What?
Yeah, really? Well, he's annoying, dude. You want to slap him in the face the first hour of that movie? He's annoying.
But then what do you learn? That's the thing. Like, he has to get better.
It gets better. I'm saying I almost turned the movie off because he's so annoying the first hour of that movie.
I mean, it's well made. Spielberg's always going to make it.
It's well made, but it's
fine.
There's a reason nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it.
Would you put in A
and
C or C or?
I put it in B.
Empire C.
Where would Paul put
it? Empire C. Yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah, C.
I'd have to see it again.
And the Color Purple. Put it.
Then the Color Purple.
C. Again, biggest thing holding that one back.
I could say B.
Himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd be okay with Color Purple being a B. Actually, I mean, how do you guys feel?
Same here.
Be like low B. I'm fine.
I'd say B.
Low B. Yeah, I would give it a B.
It's okay.
I mean, I haven't seen it since like the early '90s, but I mean, yeah, I'd still give it a B.
And I was just going to get Christopher's back on the higher ranking for Ready Player One because the visuals in that movie are absolutely stunning.
But A, do you think it was an A worthy?
I don't. It's probably a B. But
it's B is like the B minus is like the highest I could go with that movie.
Yeah,
and that's being pretty charitable.
Yeah, right.
It's a fun movie though. Don't get me wrong.
It's fun. I like it a lot. I watch it a bunch of times. But
do you guys live near? Do you guys live near Chris? Is there any way I can send him a copy of 2001 on Blu-ray?
right.
We just like
I'll sign it and everything
on his house.
Yeah,
I used to live near him, but not anymore.
Man. It's hard, when someone says 2001 is awful, it's hard for me to take anything he says seriously.
JT, do you have that 4K? It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I got that 4K. Love it.
That
4K looks incredible.
I like it, but
that's the thing.
Right.
Like, you don't have to like enjoy watching it like you watch Temple of Doom or something.
Yeah,
but
no,
to say it's awful.
Study and talk
like
about.
it's still like for me like lower tier Cobra because I like later movies more, but it's still like an incredible like feat of cinematic achievement.
Visually, it's just
visually it's amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. To this day, it holds up. That's what's insane.
It holds up.
Yeah, right. But so we got a solid top 10. So usually I just ended up by just breaking down our top 10. But so if you were though to rank a number one overall, just to like have a number one overall, I'll move it to the top of the list. What would you say? I'd say Jurassic Park. That's mine.
There's no way I could put Jurassic Park over like Schindler's List or Jaws for me personally. To me, the top three are Schindler's List, Jaws, and probably Raiders of the Lost Ark. Those to me are like in Close Encounters and E.T. are right after that probably. Schindler's List is hard because it is such a well-made movie and it's such a tough material.
Rewatchability hurts Schindler's List. That's the reason I can't put it at one. Like Jaws has like the heaviness, and like dramatic weights, and you can watch it.
And you can watch it.
Yeah,
so that's why I think
Raiders is so good. Raiders is like
I think Raiders. Especially for Paul, that's his favorite movie of all time. I mean, come on, I got to give it some love.
I mean, Jaws my number 3 of all time.
But would you put Raiders over Schindler's List? I know Paul would. I'm talking about everybody else. Okay, rewatchability. Here's the thing: rewatchability is something that's hard for me to like contest with. Something the Schindler's List is a better made movie in some ways than Jaws for sure, 100%. It is. I think it is a masterpiece. I think all three of those movies are masterpieces. So to me, it's just playing. It's just at that point, it's just favorites because all three I think are on the same level in their genres.
I get it. Is Requiem for a Dream Darren Aronofsky's best film? I don't know. Am I going to watch it again to find out? Probably not.
I mean,
I love The Wrestler.
It's decidedly The Wrestler.
I love The Wrestler. Those are two totally different movies. So, if those three that you have right there are the top three for me. It's Raiders, Jaws, and Schindler's List. Anything after that, just throw it around.
I mean, Jurassic Park and E.T. I mean, that's a top 5. Put
Minority Report at 5.
It's a top 5.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Minority Report over E.T. or Close Encounters.
Top 5 is solid.
And I would put Last Crusade over.
Okay, fine. Switch Close Encounters with E.T. and we'll call it a day.
What?
No,
that's fine.
No.
That doesn't really bother me. Either one of those right there works.
That's fine.
I would put Last Crusade over. I might put Last Crusade over Saving Private Ryan. I think it's just better overall.
I would too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Only because of Saving Private Ryan, there's some issues I have with that movie, but I still think it's amazing.
I'm here.
Well, if you're talking about rewatchability,
rewatchability. Yeah.
If you're all Scottish Law, then I'm Mickey Mouse.
But I think that's a pretty good list. I mean, Jaws, Raiders, and Schindler's List. Again, I'll leave it up to you guys what order you want to put that in because those first three.
I'm fine with that being 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's the sniffles.
But yeah, I was just gonna say, Chris said that his internet actually did drop out. He just sent me a message.
Okay.
Did we piss him off?
Yeah, so like he's not that pissed. Yeah.
It seemed like he was like, "I'm out." I could have sworn he said, "I'm out."
It's true. Ready Player One was the last straw.
Tell him we put Terminal and S in the comeback.
Yeah, right. But I'm just gonna break down the top 10. So We have Catch Me If You Can. We have My Nerdy Report, Saving Private Ryan. We have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Jurassic Park. And then our top 3 are going to be Schindler's List, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Jaws coming in at number 1. So
I'm okay with that.
The only argument I might make is maybe put Jurassic Park after E.T. and Close Encounters, but that's me.
No,
Jurassic
Park, baby.
All right, I'm a losing battle now. Because here's the thing: I think Jurassic Park, it's the technical achievements that make it so groundbreaking. Not as much as storytelling. When I think E.T. and Close Encounters have a much more personal story. What's the personal story in Jurassic Park? There's not a lot of grounded personal.
It's Alan Grant coming to terms of being a father. Like that's the whole thing.
No, the personal story.
It's a grumpy old man
who
decides kids are okay.
No. The moral of the story is that when you gotta go, and that's the moral of the story.
Yeah,
moral story is don't trust lawyers because they'll get eaten on the toilet.
I think Jurassic Park is a better entertainment. It's more entertaining than E.T. or Close Encounters, but Close Encounters and E.T. are trying to say something about the human condition, where Jurassic Park is like, don't mess with nature.
But there's
no personal.
No. It doesn't matter because it stays.
But I understand, but you agree, Chance, there's no real personal story being told
there. There is personal story. But, we're at the end of the show. We don't have time to talk about this, JT.
Right.
I don't like kids.
I'll come on your show later.
Never mind. I like kids. They're pretty okay.
A little after show.
All right, we did
it.
I
do think Jurassic Park, though, has more tension than almost any movie besides Jaws. I think Jaws has the most tension, but Jurassic Park is right up there, too.
Oh, yeah. It's a great thriller.
Yeah.
It's a great entertainment.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys. So I'm just going to go around the horn. You can tell us where we can find you. So we'll start with JT. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, JT Movie Thinks on Twitter and YouTube. And that's about it. And the Schmodown.
All right, awesome. Yep. Definitely.
About to get clapped by Ben Goddard. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're going to beat his ass.
We'll see. I think he'll be close.
Yeah, and then Paul, where can we find you?
Goddard's my den mate now. It's going to be a fun match.
Uh-oh.
I'm at the Movie Guys everywhere, and themovieguys.net. And check out again the new podcast, The Ford Fiesta, as we're going to talk about a lot of these movies as time goes on. But right now, we just finished the first 4 movies of his career, which you've never heard of, and it was really fun watching them. We just got to American Graffiti about 5 episodes in, but we've only posted the first one for now. More to be rolled out later.
Will you guys be doing Apocalypse Now?
Of course, yeah.
He's in it for like one scene, but I was just curious.
He had one line in Love, 1967 comedy with Jack Lemmon and Peter Falk, but it was so great because he comes in and he punches Jack Lemmon in the face, then he's gone. So if you ever wanted to know, the first person Harrison Ford punches is on screen is Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon, good to know.
Wow. Nice. And then Chance, where can we find you?
Twitter, Instagram at _91. Check my podcast, Notorious by Chance. It's where we go in. Right now, we are in the middle of Hunger Games month, reviewing every single Hunger Games movie. Our episode on Mockingjay Part 1 will be out tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
This is it's getting tough.
It's getting tough, yeah.
You can also check out Notorious by Chance on YouTube. It's where I host the top 5 with Chance Ellison episode you've done in the past so far. We did top 5 Star Wars characters, top 5 Denzel Washington movies. Last week, we just did top 5 superhero portrayals, which that's very interesting, very fast. Notorious by Chance on YouTube, and also on the Schmodown on the Best Faction of Life, Corruption.
Awesome. And then Austin, where can we find you?
Well, I'm not in the Schmodown yet. My audition tape didn't quite go through, but I did audition, so maybe someday. And Briggs and Howell Film Critiques on Facebook. I'm going to talk about the Snyder Cut this week and do just a big spoiler discussion, a review sort of a thing. And then same thing with Godzilla vs. Kong this week too. So we actually got some movies coming out that we can talk about, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Can you imagine?
Awesome.
When we're all vaccinated and we're in the theater and it's been a year and Black Widow comes on. We're going to shit our pants. It's going to be amazing.
We're going to do so. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. We're always going to be like, thank you, Kevin Feige, for giving us a movie.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, finally. But
but we'll get into the theater and we'll still be waiting for Avatar 2, 10 years down the line, even after everybody's it's all over. Yeah.
Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5, however many they're filming. But you can find me all over the Movie Hero Network. We got a show called Blind Spots where me and Chris Scott, who just dropped out. We're gonna be reviewing a Taxi Driver because that's one of my blind spots. I've never seen Taxi Driver, so we're gonna watch that and then we're gonna do a review on it. And then I have a show with Austin actually that's called Live from Movie Hero, where we review classic episodes of Saturday Night Live. We just dropped an episode from season 12. We've been going through that had we did one that's hosted by Steve Guttenberg and one that's hosted by the three amigos. So you have Steve Martin Short, and Chevy Chase. Yeah, so we're having a lot of fun with that. And then you can find me over on Facebook and in the Schmodown Friends and Family group. That's a great place to come talk Schmodown, but then also it's definitely a place where you can self-promote. So if you have a YouTube channel that you're running and you want to get some more eyes on it, you can definitely post it there. I always try and give a little shout out on my personal social media to most people that post in that group, and we just try and support each other. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome.
So yeah, but this has been a lot of fun. So for JTE, Chance Ellison, Paul Preston, Austin Pez Howell, I've been Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and this has been Tier Ranker Fights, and we'll see you next week.